The June 4th Lane Community College Board of Education Board meeting will now be called to order. Celia, will you please call roll?
Yes, Kevin Alltucker.
Here.
Denise Diamond.
Here.
Austin Volnaghi.
Here.
Sophie Gibson.
Here.
Steve Mattel.
Here.
Zach Mulholland.
Here.
Julie Weisman. Here.
We will be moving on to the land recognition. The land acknowledgement speaker for this meeting is Zahra Mahmoud Ali. Can you introduce the speaker for me?
Is it Zara, right? Yes.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Would you give our land recognition?
I'd like to start our meeting with the acknowledgement that the land we're on is the traditional homelands of the Kalapuya people. The Kalapuya were stewards of this very land for over 14,000 years before their traditional way of life was forever disrupted. We start our meeting with humility and reverence for the original inhabitants, the Kalapuya.
Thank you. We'll be moving on to the adoption of the agenda. We do have a couple of quick changes to the agenda. We'd like to move the item 5B, the SGA report, to item 2F after the preliminary items, and item 8A, Student Government Association outgoing president recognition, to item 2G, the last item in the preliminary items. And then we would also move item 6B, approval of president's evaluation, to 7A, the first in the action items. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda with those changes?
Move to approve the agenda with those changes.
And I'll second.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
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 And all opposed say nay. And that passes unanimously. So please note that the equity lens has been provided for the board's reference. Do we have any questions or comments regarding the responses to information requests?
Chair, I'll just say that we did receive some questions Monday, Tuesday, yesterday, maybe today even. And we are getting to those questions as quickly as possible. Some of the responses we will actually share in this meeting this evening.
Thank you. So with that, we will move to the two items that we moved to the end of this section. So first is the Student Government Association report. Sophie Gibson.
Hi, y'all. Sorry I couldn't make it. I got called in to volunteer where I volunteer. So I'm just going to be on Zoom for 30 minutes. And I really appreciate y'all being flexible for my last meeting. So my report is pretty much going to be short and sweet. We had a large spring festival where we paired with the college to kind of introduce Navigate 360 or teach students how to use it, as well as just have like fun and games and do all that fun stuff, try to get students registered for fall term. It was super successful. I'm pretty sure we had over 400 people come through the event. So that was awesome and a really big win for the college and for student government, as well as the Council of Clubs who helped put this on. As well as we did have a rights and resources panel where we invited a bunch of our community partners such as Access the Law, Pacific Refugee Support Group, and Hope and Safety Alliance to come and kind of talk about the climate and what the political climate and what supports are around for our international students and just like immigrant community members at large. So yeah. And I did want to mention one thing is I won't be here. I just wanted to bring to the attention of the board that there have been some concerns. I was going to leave it till the last 10 minutes during board member questions and concerns, but unfortunately I won't be here as I am doing my volunteer thing. So students have come to me, multiple students have come to me issuing concerns about Titan Court and not receiving their deposit back, and it has been a major concern, especially around our international students. Many of them have complained about this issue, as well as some of our like domestic students, I guess, for lack of better words. So I just wanted to put that on the board radar, and hopefully someone can do something about that or get the ball rolling in that. So thank you. That's my report.
Thank you so much. We will now be moving on to the Student Government Association outgoing president recognition. President Vulture, will you please introduce this item?
Sure, I think this is me actually recognizing Sophie. So I saw Sophie today actually, and she called me a boss lady. I really, really appreciate that. But Sophie is one of those people who is incredibly clear-eyed and self-possessed, and everybody knows Sophie. She tells us things and she wants us to actually act. She wants us to make sure that we actually do those things. And what do? We get out our paper and our pencil and we take that down. And we either do it or we explain to her why we can't do it. And she says, that would be just fine. I understand that. So I know Sophie is one of those people who's going to be a leader wherever she goes, because she's done that here and she's going to do that great things in the world. So I asked her today to keep in touch with us, let us know how she's doing, come back to Lane for classes, whatever she decides to do in the world. And I just can't wait to see what's going to happen to her as she moves into the future. So Sophie, we are incredibly sad to see you go, but we are also very happy for you going to the University of Oregon, being in the 3 p.m. program, I think that is. And so we're incredibly happy for the University of Oregon getting someone like you. So Sophie received her plaque today. Sophie, do you have that with you? If you don't,
Yeah, I can't bring it into the shelter,
oh, I
unfortunately.
didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a beautiful plaque, though. We give that to all of our outgoing Student Government Association presidents. And I just want to acknowledge, so thank you from the bottom of my heart, Sophie. Really appreciate you. And want to mention all of your senators. Some of them are in the room, I think. If you are, raise your hand if you would. If you're in the room and you're a senator, Zara is on there, Senator 6. So you're on the Zoom, and really appreciate all of your senators because they've been really helpful to me, and I think huge advocates for students. So thank you, Sophie.
Yeah, can I just say a quick word?
If any board members want to add anything, I've got Julie, and then it looks like Kevin and Steve in the queue.
Sophie, I am going to miss you so much. I tell you, it has been one of my greatest pleasures. I've only been on the board for less than a year, almost about the same amount of time you have. And God, it is just such a pleasure to watch you participate and be an outstanding student representative. The students of LCC were absolutely represented by you. You made an impact and a difference, and you made a difference for us. You made a difference going forward in the future, and your future looks bright to me. And I couldn't be more excited about who you are and what you're going to bring to the world. And so thank you for everything that you are. And it's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you so much.
Kevin and Steve.
Sophie, so you know I have a soft place in my heart for family and human services students. So there's that. You show up with an open heart and a desire to help people, and you listen when people need to be heard, and you call for action when people need help.
Y'all are gonna make me tear up a little.
That's the goal, Sophie. Well, I'll add a few things as well. I also, like others, have feel very honored and blessed, honestly, to have gotten to know you this year. And I look forward, of course, to getting to know you more when you transfer over to U of O. That's where I work. I look forward to getting to spend some time with you there. I, too, went through the 3 p.m. program, so I can give you some insider tips if that's useful to you. What I wanted to say in terms of comment about your time here on the board, what I feel like I got to watch you grow in your confidence, right? You had to find yourself a little bit relative to the board situation and find your voice, and you did that. And the thing I was most impressed with is that because of the way the board is structured, you don't have a vote, but you had enormous influence, which is what ultimately it's about. And I was very impressed by that.
Thank you,
Awesome.
Steve. Thank you.
Hey there, this is Austin here. First off, students are our purpose, and I really appreciated the role that you played, the conversations you brought to the table, but also as OCCA president, you and I were actually on a panel together with the OCCA conference, and the most memorable thing about that conference was after we were done with that panel. One of the presidents of a different community college gave you a job offer for just your knowledge, your ability to communicate students' needs, your ability to go to legislators and ask for what students need, and your advocacy on a statewide level, on a local level, here in this boardroom is immense. And that, along with students who come to the podium here for public comment, you all inspire me every day. Thank you.
Thanks, Austin.
Okay, anyone else? Denise.
Hey, Sophie. I'll just add and agree with what everybody's been saying. I definitely saw your confidence growing and your voice, and I certainly want to encourage and support that you keep using your skills and your voice for all the good, all the representation, all the advocacy. We need you. We need you out there. So thank you. Thank you for sharing your skills and talents with us. Keep it going. Play it forward.
Thanks, Denise.
Thank you. And Sophie, I'll try and round it out here. For folks in the room that don't know, aren't aware, this is the first year we have had a student trustee on the board. And Sophie, you stepped into that role.
No.
Did we? I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
That we did have someone for a short time last year, but you just did an amazing job. And just thank you so much for all you've given to this role. And as a 3 p.m. minor, just wish you the best of luck at the University of Oregon and all of your future endeavors. And thank you so much.
Thanks, Zach.
And with that, we will move on to our public hearing. Thank you so much.
Bye, Sophie.
Bye, everyone. And thank you all so much. I'm just going to pay it back to you and say I would have never been able to do it without every single one of you. Seriously. So, bye, guys.
Bye.
Okay. Going back to the beginning here. This is not right.
Right here, just so you know, right?
Right. This isn't right though. So now we're going to start the public hearing on the FY 25-26 budget and supplemental budget.
Yes.
Celia, do we have speakers that are signed up to speak?
Yes.
Thanks, Brett.
Okay, that's what I was not following in this thing here. Okay. Okay, so we will now be recessing the regular Board of Education meeting. The Board of Education meeting is now in recess, and I'm calling to order the public hearing regarding the FY 25-26 budget and supplemental budget. Speakers will be given up to 3 minutes to provide testimony regarding this hearing. If you are here to speak on a different topic, you will have the opportunity to do so during the public comment portion of the regular board meeting. Is there anyone here who would like to provide testimony for the public hearing?
Yes, we have Drusilla Winters, followed by Jill Touchert, Amy Beasley, Adrian Mitchell, and Winona Burks.
Pardon me, do I just start? I asked why we're here. Are we here for the students? Because looking at this budget, I don't think so. We've added administrators during the time I've been at Lane. We've added administrators while we have a falling student population. I know the student population has increased in the last year, but prior to that, it fell 60%. And yet we kept adding administrators. We just added another one. The ones that impact the lives of our students are not the administrators. Yes, you make a difference, some difference, but the majority of the people impacting are sitting out there. They're the teachers. They're the classified staff like myself. I tutor in Trio. They are the ones that matter to the students, and we come a lot cheaper than an administrator does. That budget is a disgrace. And that's all I can say as a citizen of Lane County, as a member of the community here at Lane. And I had two sons that at one point were students here. And it is just plain a disgrace to spend that much. And you're not talking about cutting administrative staff, which is where the cut should come from. We could do with half of the administrative staff we have and still function as well as we do now. That's basically what I have to say. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jill Touchert, and I am proud to stand here not only as LCCEA faculty member, but nursing faculty instructor and in solidarity of the licensed practical nursing program here at LCC. I'm an advocate for the students, patients, families, and healthcare system that this program has served with integrity, excellence, and heart. Today, I speak with a heavy heart. We have recently been informed that our LPN program will be closing this coming year. And while that news alone is devastating to those who have dedicated their time to this work, the greater tragedy is what this decision means for our community. Let me be very clear that this is not just the closing of a program, it's the closing of a pathway. Over the years, we've proudly graduated students who have gone on to serve in our local hospitals, long-term care facilities, outpatient clinics, and surgery centers. Our graduates are the faces you've seen caring for your parents, your children, and maybe even for you. These are not just statistics. These are your neighbors, your family, your fellow community members, and the statistics, they're undeniable. 100% LPN and NCLEX pass rate over 5 years. Minimal attrition, meaning our students are not only succeeding, but staying and finishing strong. A consistent pipeline of skilled, compassionate, and competent LPNs directly into local healthcare settings. This is not the time to cut nursing. Despite this proven success, almost 40 hopeful applicants have already been told, it's a record number, by the way, have been told that this is no longer an option for them. 40 individuals, many of whom are from underserved backgrounds, very commonly in the LPN program. They're often the underdog, as one of my colleagues says, who leads this program. Many of whom are from underserved backgrounds and have had a door closed that may never open again. LCC's mission emphasizes serving diverse, non-traditional, and underrepresented student populations, and our LPN program embodies that mission. For many, the LPN program is the only viable entry point into nursing. The RN program is simply not accessible to all, whether due to time, cost, academic readiness, or life circumstances. And to suggest that the RN1, the first-year nursing students, can simply test for the LPN license is not a reasonable or a sustainable goal. It's not a substitute. Let's be honest, RN students aren't training to be LPNs, and even if a few test into it, by the time they pass the boards, they're already focused on transitioning to RN roles, and that leaves no one filling the LPN roles we desperately need. And with the closure of this program, our healthcare facilities lose a vital part of their workforce, our most vulnerable patients lose their frontline caregivers, and our students, those whom this college was built to support, lose hope. LPNs are not replaceable. They're essential, and they are the glue that hold together this fabric of care in the community. And I ask our community to stand with us, not just for the LPN program, but the future of accessible, equitable healthcare in our region. Thank you.
Thank you.
Amy Beasley.
Good evening. My name is Amy Beasley, In solidarity with my LCCEA colleagues, I'll be reading the first part of a statement by our union president, Adrian Mitchell. Esteemed Board of Education members, I am speaking tonight about the proposed budget before you for adoption. First, I note that the audit report for FY24, which ended June 30th, 2024, was just released. While there were several accounting and reporting issues that the auditors found which require LCC to submit a corrective plan to the Secretary of State, the news is good regarding the stability of the general fund. Since FY23, enrollment has grown more than 26%. The ending fund balance is up about $1 million, a growth of more than 14% over 3 years. However, within the proposed budget, there are $675,000 of unspecified program and service cuts. The budget was transformed with relative ease in May from one that used $3.1 million of the ending fund balance to one that is balanced, and the amount designated for cuts represents less than 1% of general fund and less than 1/3 of 1% of the entire budget. Thus, it is difficult to justify cuts when management positions are slated to increase by 10% for next year, and extra funding has been added as a projected expense for OPE, even though the budget and finance administrators have reported that some of the extra expense, which totals more than $5.2 million over the $28 million projected for this year for OPE, is not projected to be spent next year. It is extra funding that would be saved for the out years, for those future years after FY26. This savings for future years, which is built into the projected expenses for FY26, gives the impression of a tight budget.
There are numerous options and budget scenarios that would easily close the budget gap without any cuts. I would urge you to review the statements that I provided to you all and to the full budget committee in May. In addition, I'd like to share some information about several reductions that are already set to take effect next year, impacting faculty and programs. The time for the only faculty position in the Gender Equity Center is being reduced to 0.75 FTE. LCCEA and the administration have reached a collaborative resolution which will result in the faculty member remaining full-time and teaching in another department. The only position dedicated to the only full-time faculty position dedicated to assessment, which is required and important for accreditation, is being eliminated effective winter term next year. We've reached a collaborative resolution that will provide that the affected faculty transfer in part and then fully to teach in an academic department. As you also heard from Jill in nursing, the LPN program is not being offered for next year. While the 2.15 faculty in the program will retain their positions for next year, this is of significant concern, especially for the students and the community. There's a strong demand for this competitive program with nearly 40 students who applied for 16 spots. Even though the demand is strong and there is a dire need to increase the LPN workforce in the local community, especially in long-term care settings, the faculty who were preparing to present the orientation to all new students tomorrow learned suddenly last week that the program will not be offered. Finally, while these known cuts will not affect the livelihood or ongoing employment of any faculty members if they go forward, it is still critical and of utmost importance that you, as the governing body, make decisions on substantive program changes like these and any others. This is inherent in board service, rooted in our Oregon statutes and administrative rules that establish the authority of community college boards, and expressly your responsibility under Board Policy 30, supported by decades of board precedent. As board members, it is incumbent upon you to make the tough decisions, to actually take the votes, to consider the information and make a decision, to fulfill your duty to the people of Lane County who elected you to provide public oversight to this institution. This is fundamental to our democracy, which is ever more fragile on the national landscape. I urge you to rise above that here at the local level and participate in board decision-making to ensure that cuts do not take place outside the public view without a board vote and without full consideration of the impacts for the community. Thank you for your consideration and your dedicated service to the people of Lane County.
Wynonna Burks.
Good evening. My name is Winona Burks, and I stand before you today as an advocate for the students, the patients, the families, and healthcare systems that the LPN program has faithfully served. I'm here to speak to you about the real and immediate consequences of closing the licensed practical nursing program at Lane Community College. As the Board of Education, you are not only guardians of academic programs, you are stewards of the public interest. The health and dignity of our most vulnerable citizens, our parents, our grandparents, our neighbors depend on you to protect and preserve this essential program. For the past 5 consecutive years, the LPN program has proudly maintained a 100% NCLEX pass rate and extremely low attrition. These are not just numbers. They reflect a program that produces graduates who are committed, competent, and career ready. Students don't just start the program, they finish strong. This program is a lifeline, particularly for older adults restarting their careers, single parents seeking stability for their families, and students from communities historically underrepresented in healthcare. For many, this is the only viable, accessible entry point into nursing. Yes, it is true that RN students can sit for the LPN exam, but they did not enter the RN program to become LPNs. They are on a different pathway entirely. The LPN program is the only local pipeline preparing practical nurses in Lane County. Its graduates are essential to staffing nursing homes, assisted living centers, clinics, rehabilitation facilities across Eugene, Springfield, and surrounding rural communities. These same facilities already face high turnover, severe burnout, and chronic recruitment challenges. Lane County has 20 nursing homes caring for approximately 1,340 residents. These facilities rely heavily on LPNs. Without swift action, our community will begin to feel the effects of this closure within 12 to 24 months. Deeper staffing shortages, decreased quality of care, increased preventable complications, hospitalizations, and possibly deaths. And within 5 years, we will see long-lasting systemic damage to our local healthcare infrastructure. Make no mistake, this is not a distant concern. This is a near-term crisis. Thank you.
Those are all the speakers for the public hearing.
Okay. Thank you. That concludes the public hearing. We will now resume the Board of Education meeting. We will now be moving on to public comment. The board may not respond directly to any issues raised during public comment, but will refer those issues to the president for appropriate action. Celia, do we have any public comment?
Yes. We'll start with the students. We have Beth Micah Halbrook, Ray Kamer, and Mila Saunders.
Out. Excuse me, Celia. I'm sorry, Brett, would you share?
I did. It was pretty light, but I did hit it.
Okay. Thanks for the prompt. Okay, Celia.
Is Beth Micah Halbrook here?
I was going back a sec. I heard it.
She
My name is Micah, and I'm a student here representing Lane Community College's future. I'd like to thank you for hearing what I have to say today. A few nights ago, I read a cry for support from a dear friend for a cause I know well. I responded to that call with action as quickly as I could. This not being the first time I was given a short deadline to find meaningful words. The Longhouse stewardship position was being eliminated as a necessary hire. I wrote an appeal to those I most respect and helped them understand the history and clear undertones of racism still involved in the politics around the Longhouse and its stewardship. Yesterday, I heard that the message had been accused of misrepresenting the situation and causing undue panic, which I had helped spread. I was coming here to apologize for my part in that, but in part, other things that are also important. But today I was honored to meet the steward that has been hired. She's lovely and I hope to work with her. I feel that she'll be a joy to work with. I also look forward to the naming of the Longhouse, which will help heal oxymoronic levels of racism layered across its roof. Today, I also found the text that this outcry came from. The steward was hired, but with this hire, the position will no longer be a contractual obligation to fill. I commend your land back statement, but it means little when this living entity existing on land that lives itself is being treated as it is. Many of these people are here because we summoned them. Word spread. Others are here for other intensely concerning changes proposed that made clear how much respect is held for the employees here and the students. And to be clear, that isn't much. I'd like to clearly acknowledge how ready everyone was to hear and take up this cause. The confidence this institution's population has in this board and leadership's ability to make decisions that put people first and politics where they belong has been badly damaged. I can't say I've come to expect last-minute board meeting speeches, but I'm getting better preparing to deal with them with 24 hours or less to rally and organize. The reaction reminds me of conditioned trauma responses, coordinated enough to be linked by a common fear and reinforced mistrust. I hope your ears are open, whether words are situationally applicable or not. All words offered will tell you the fears we lack the trust to dispel. This is one of the wisest insights we can take from this forum.
Ray Kamer.
I'm tiny, so I will have to shout.
We can move a mic over.
I'm still gonna have to shout. Hi, my name is Ray. You guys haven't seen me before because this is my very first term. I am a student here at LCC, and I am here tonight to speak on behalf of the Neurodivergent Student Union, or the NDSU. We worked on this statement in our meeting this week, and thank you for listening to me and for your careful consideration of what we want you to understand. I am sure many of you are familiar with this statement. Lane is the community's college. We provide quality, comprehensive, accessible, inclusive, learning-centered educational opportunities that promote equitable student success. Please note that on the LCC's websites, the words inclusive and equitable are in bold, implying that they are emphasized over the other aspects of LCC's mission. Similarly, LCC's listed values include learning, diversity, integrity, and accessibility, all of which the NDSU believes are important to consider when making the decisions that impact the LCC's community. Do your decisions reflect our mission specific with regards to inclusivity or equity? Students in our LCC community are being targeted by policies, laws, programs, and communications by our federal government. Diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts are being prohibited and punished. Human rights for trans and non-binary youth are being eliminated. Immigrant students are being deported to prison for expressing their freedom of speech. And autistic adults and children are being tracked on a registry. As students, we look to you as our role models. Many neurodivergent people have a keen sense of equity and justice. And when we don't see our leaders enact the values they espouse, we lose trust in them. Are you being a role model that reflects our mission and values of equity, inclusion, diversity, and accessibility? How are your budget votes, your policy choices, and your personal reflexivity reflecting on LCC's claims to represent? Silence is compliance. Silence is also violence. As students, we ask you to be brave. We need you to be proactive and we ask ask us for what we need and how you can support us. A common disability and queer adage is nothing about us without us. Are you making decisions with us? I'm gonna end the speech here because I'm running out of time.
Mila Saunders, followed by Kendra Rivera.
Miyuyam, Cha'anam na tong mila yaka na mwashnai pi na ta'ach peom koisham. Good evening, board members. My name is Mila Saunders. I'm from the Rincon Band of Luiseno Indians, and I serve as a co-chair of our Native American Student Association here at LCC. I speak tonight in solidarity with my faculty and student peers and with deep concern over the proposal to eliminate our MOA and slash $670,000 likely from critical support programs and curriculum development focused on historically marginalized communities. Let me be clear, this is not a budget issue, it's a moral issue. As a NASA leader, I've supported students who were targeted and silenced on this campus for being a minority. Why stay? What keeps them showing up? It's the Longhouse. It's our Native American Student Program Coordinator. It's the promise of a Longhouse steward. It's the safe and affirming spaces and staff who understand the trauma and triumph of being Indigenous or BIPOC in a predominantly white institution. This MOA ensures the protection of those positions. It ensures sufficient cultural competency training that our managers understand and are held accountable for microaggressions, flagrant use of racial pejoratives, and the thick presence of white supremacist culture. Eliminating it sends the message that we don't matter. So what this means for you as board members is simple. If you approve this bargain, you are not just cutting dollars, you're cutting community. You're cutting retention. You're cutting futures. You're undermining LCC's own stated values of equity and inclusion. So please do the right thing and protect this MOA and reject these harmful cuts. Thank you. Miyuyam.
Students are powerful. My name is Kendra Rivera, and I'm a communication faculty, also the advisor for the Neurodivergent Student Union, and I'll be finishing reading the statement that Ray just started a moment. A common disability and queer adage is nothing about us without us. Are you making decisions with us? We need you to commit to funding and supporting our student organizations. We need safe places such as the Longhouse, the Gender Equity Center, or the Neurodivergent Student Union Room in Carr to feel we belong. We need mentors and leaders like the Native, Latino, or Black Studies coordinators and the Longhouse steward. We need you, our administration and Board of Education leaders, as well as our faculty and staff, to commit to learning about communities who face oppression, to understand bias and discrimination, and to hire faculty who represent the marginalized communities from which we come. How could eliminating these vital aspects of our student experience reflect the mission and values of inclusivity, equity, diversity, and accessibility? By not standing up, you are standing aside. You are leaving us and LCC alone, unsupported, and discriminated against.
Wendy Simmons, followed by Amy Beasley, Jasmine Hopkins, and Jay Frazier.
From the window.
Good evening, board members and President Bolger. My name is Wendy Simmons, and I'll be reading this statement on behalf of and in solidarity with our LCCEA union members. In spring 2024, LCCEA conducted an all-faculty survey to determine the most important issues to faculty. 215 faculty responded, with 99% of them supporting the goals we are now advocating for to achieve a fair faculty contract. We'd like to share these goals with you tonight by presenting a petition signed by 264 faculty members, joined by over 210 students, campus, and community members. Together, united, we urge you to support these goals in the interest of creating the college our community deserves. The petition reads as follows. To the Lane Community College Board of Education, we, the undersigned faculty, classified professionals, students, and concerned community members stand for higher education for the common good. We support a fair contract for LCC faculty. We urge you to provide fair pay for all faculty with pay parity for part-time faculty, including flight tech instructors and coaches. Reasonable workloads with limited class sizes to allow instructors to best support students, and equitable workload calculations for lab instruction. Essentials for working conditions, including sufficient budgeting for LCC's instructional and student services mission, faculty job security, academic freedom, private offices, up-to-date hardware and software, and ethics and integrity and search processes. Necessities for student success, such as staffing to support students' ADA accommodations, robust staffing for counseling, mental health advising and tutoring, support for student food and housing needs, funding for faculty to develop and adopt open educational resources to reduce student costs and reduce textbook markup at the bookstore. A safe, healthy campus by ensuring LCC is prepared for any public health emergency and ready in the event of a lockdown with, for example, classroom doors with working locks, and association rights and legal compliance by making up-to-date updates to align with changes in state law and providing the union a safe meeting space on campus. Signed, supporters of a fair contract for LCC faculty. Thank you.
My name is Amy Beasley. I'll be reading some of the comments that signers of our petition added. Strong support for faculty so we can keep supporting student success. No distractions due to having to struggle to get support for faculty. No more taking our time from our students. No more wasting of taxpayer money on ridiculous administrative moves. I coordinate with LCC faculty for observations and volunteers of our UO students in their classes. They are amazing teachers who work so hard to serve their students. They certainly deserve respect and a fair contract. There is no LCC without faculty. Do the right thing for our students. Faculty need a fair contract. All workers who directly interface with students or who support the student environment need to be paid fairly. Oregon is one of the lowest states on the pay scale, and though Eugene's cost of living has continued to rise to the level of a big city, pay for public education employees has not kept pace, including Lane's faculty and classified. To provide the quality of education LCC provides, these are crucial employees. Let's show the community that LCC recognizes this great value. LCC faculty are clearly working with inadequate pay and under unsustainable working conditions. Please negotiate in good faith. Value your teachers. LCC must continue being the college of the community. LCC creates jobs for the community, and its students, future professionals, learn to critically think, create, and grow the civic culture and responsibilities of our community. Investment in LCC resources are necessary for a healthy community and society. Teaching conditions are critical for student success. In case you're curious about actual work hours teachers do, each day on campus I put in around 7 hours of teaching in the classroom and office hours. Evenings, it's usually about 4 hours. Weekends can be 15 to 20 hours if I have a load of essays, but otherwise maybe only 3 or 4 hours. I'm not complaining, it's my job and I actually like it. I just thought y'all might want to know things like this.
My name is My name is Jasmine Hopkins. I'm an LCCEA member, and I'm continuing with the public comments on this petition. Lane faculty care about their students, their college, and their community. They deserve a fair contract, and they deserve respect. Next comment, I support this cause. LCC is teachers. Please support a fair contract to show you support what we do. We will be watching what happens in the budget process and bargaining. Thank you. Create a budget that works for everyone. More managers is not the answer. I am beyond stunned by the outrageous attacks on our contract in the administration bargaining team's proposal. Please take control of this out-of-control administration and work with the faculty to support our college, its students, and its employees, not the anti-faculty and anti-union administrators trying to attack your faculty. Please help us keep supporting our students to the fullest by keeping a fair and balanced contract. Please support a fair contract. If faculty needs are met, it allows them, us, to support our students' needs. Please support faculty so we can better support students. Please support democratic processes that ensure fairness and integrity in a time of crisis in our country that needs leadership for ensuring our democracy. Solidarity from the City University's New York School of Labor and Urban Studies. Students need more resources. These are unprecedented times for public education. Times when voices across the country are being silenced, critical thinking is under attack, and when the values of equity, inclusion, and integrity are being tested. That is why now, more than ever, we must double down on the values that make Lane Community College a beacon of opportunity and excellence. As we face an era where the very foundation of public education is being challenged, it is essential that we protect the dignity and rights of the people who make education possible. Upholding these values isn't optional. It is a moral imperative. We urge you to stand with the LCC community by supporting a fair contract for faculty and affirming your commitment to the mission and integrity of our institution.
My name is Jay Frazier, and I'm an LCCEA member, and I'm continuing with the public comments on the petition. Fair should be fair, no matter which side you find yourself on. Fund our mission, not administrative overreach. Unionized workers always deserve a fair contract, and this is no exception. We work hard and deserve support from those who have influence so we can spend energy to continue our work to support our students and communities for the betterment of all. Please help us do that. Reasonable workloads with limited class sizes to allow instructors to best support students and equitable workload calculations for lab instruction. One adjunct professor said, I've been an adjunct professor on different campuses for about a decade and here at LCC for over 5 years. This is where I want to be. Many of us who don't teach full-time or can't teach full-time are made to feel that our contributions don't matter when our hard work and dedication, often beyond the prescribed hours we're paid for, to our students and their education is not compensated in kind with our full-time peers. Please consider the impact on Lane's community when a large percentage of the workforce is demoralized by lack of value and disabled in their own career by inequity of pay and respect. Please support a fair faculty contract. A student says, I'm only able to be here because of the financial aid I receive. Class sizes are too big to get any meaningful help from the instructor. We have to work for a fair contract that protects workers and students' quality of learning. Come on, LCC, let's get this done. LCC is a gem in the crown of Lane County. We can do this. For years, contract negotiations have been contentious to say the least. All the employees want is a fair contract. Time to take off the gloves and negotiate professionally and fairly. Please support faculty so we can support students. I support a fair and equitable contract. Those are the public comments. I'll just add, I think we all recognize in contract negotiations, oftentimes the sides begin at kind of extreme positions and then try to work their way toward the middle, knowing that that's where they're going to wind up. But I got to tell you, for the administration to begin with an egregiously extreme position that it seems designed to demean and anger the faculty just doesn't seem like a good idea to me. It doesn't seem to me like a wise decision. Just saying.
Jen Goudreau, followed by Aaron Bartley, Sarah Erickson, and Dawn Easton.
Good evening, President Volker, members of the Board of Education, and fellow faculty and staff. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you tonight. My name is Jen Gidrow, and I'm a full-time computer information technology faculty, and I've loved the last 4 years working here, especially in my department, where I get to work with an amazing group of people who are focused on staying current in both teaching and technology. Some of us even joke that they pay us to do this because we find so much joy in teaching here. Most of us are even giving up part of our summer to host our second annual CompuCon, a week-long hands-on camp for middle and high school students. We'll be introducing them to skills like web development, encryption, and even programming some robots. It's an amazing opportunity to inspire the next generation and spark their interest in tech careers. But to help both current and future students thrive, we need an infrastructure that works. More and more students are bringing their own devices, and they expect a quick, fast connection. Right now in our building, and I know we're not alone in our building, connecting to Wi-Fi is a continuous struggle. For example, during the first week of class, usually the Wi-Fi is often overloaded so that students can't do that, can't update or access software that they need to work on in the class. And when they hit those barriers, early on, students get discouraged from attending class, and getting them in the seats is the best way to get them to stay in the program. We also teach best practices in the computing and security, but sometimes the IT restrictions that we have prevent us from doing simple things like patching our systems, and we need timely and transparent support processes to help us do our jobs, like model what we teach to our students. I want to finish by saying this is my first time ever being part of a union in my 29-year professional career. And I joined the action committee this last year for the LCCEA to stay informed and be part of the conversation. I care deeply about the future of Lane, as I believe, as most, I'm sure everybody here does, that that it is essential that that faculty, classified management, and the board all work together to fulfill Lane's vision, which is transforming lives through learning. Education, I believe, really does change lives. We do our best work when we're supported and when we offer the same support to each other. Thank you for the opportunity to share my perspective with you.
Good evening. My name is Erin Bartley. As an LCCEA member and in solidarity with my LCCEA colleagues, I will be reading a statement from Indira Bakshi, faculty member in the English as a Second Language program who could not be here tonight because she's teaching. Dear members of the board, in solidarity with my faculty colleagues, I urge you to affirm and strengthen the commitments made in Lane's sanctuary policy, outlined in Resolution 612 and passed by the Lane Board of Education in 2017. As a qualified and experienced instructor at LCC for the past 28 years in the English as a Second Language program, I have worked with countless students. Some arrive with little or no literacy or English skills, and others hold advanced degrees and are looking to improve their English skills and get to work in their field as soon as possible. I could name many more who, with the support of ESL, ABSE, and Career Pathways programs, not only passed their college placement tests, but went on to earn degrees, transfer to universities, and secure meaningful employment. Foundational programs like ESL, ABSE, and Career Pathways are essential bridges that empower students to transition into college and set and achieve their long-term academic and career goals. Without strong bridge programs, Lane is not truly accessible to the very students we claim to serve. Moreover, students across the campus increasingly come from communities as first and second generation immigrants, including DACA students and refugees. Many others are international students who have chosen Lane as their home away from home while pursuing their educational goals and building lasting relationships that connect Lane to the world. Sanctuary policies make it possible for all our students to enter classrooms with a sense of safety and belonging. I've seen firsthand how this sense of security enables students to focus, learn, and pursue their goals with confidence. The current federal administration's mass deportation efforts are tearing families apart, spreading fear. They are undermining the trust, stability, and well-being of our community. Now more than ever, Protecting our sanctuary policy is critical to defending access, equity, and Lane Community College's core mission to remain a truly safe and welcoming place for all students to learn and thrive and contribute to the future prosperity of our community in Lane County. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Sarah Erickson, and I teach in mathematics and engineering. I'm reading a statement tonight on behalf of another faculty member. She writes, "My name is Maggie Mettis, and I am an LCCEA member and current full-time faculty member in the ESL department. I'm lead instructor for our evening community education program, which is why I cannot join you in person this evening. I'm currently in class. Prior to moving into a full-time role, I was a part-time faculty member for 9 years. I say this without hesitation. Our part-time faculty make our department and the work that we do possible. Our department has the know-how, experience, and kindness needed to successfully build an ESL program, particularly our community education program, because of them. In our evening classes, I work with 9 talented, creative, and dedicated part-time faculty. They wholeheartedly lead classes for our students from 6:15 to 8:35. For many instructors, they show up fully present, prepared, and ready to engage after working another full-time job all day. I share the same credentials and educational background as my part-time colleagues, and we all share dedication to our work and student populations. I'll say this again. It's because of my part-time colleagues that our program is currently thriving. Without them, we would not be able to serve the immigrant and refugee population in our community with quality ESL classes, and we would not be able to offer enough classes to meet our current demand. My part-time colleagues deserve to be compensated adequately for their time, expertise, and the fact that the work that we do is possible because of them. Thank you for your attention.
Greetings to the board and President Bolger. My name is Don Easton, a full-time faculty member and the program lead for the cybersecurity program here at LCC. I am also a proud union member of LCCA, where we are responsible for ensuring that faculty are fairly represented when significant workload changes occur, among other issues. My statement today comes from 20+ years as a career technologist with related experience in the topic I'll speak to. As the college contemplates shifting from Moodle to Canvas, a new LMS, it is important to recognize that this transition is far from a simple one-for-one swap. While both platforms serve the fundamental purpose of managing coursework and facilitating online learning, the nuances in their design, features, and user experience mean that workloads, training needs, and even course structures will inevitably change. Faculty have often tailored Moodle to fit specific pedagogical needs and workflows that have become familiar over the years. Canvas may or may not offer similar customization and feature sets, but we can almost guarantee that it will not be the same. This means that some Moodle-specific features or customizations might not have direct equivalents in Canvas. Faculty can be expected to invest time learning the new platform's logic and layout. Tasks such as setting up assignments, grading, and managing discussions may look and function differently, requiring adjustments in how educators allocate their time. Tasks such as, hold on a minute. This is not simply a matter of transferring content files. It involves reconfiguring courses to fit Canvas structure and capabilities. The transition will demand an increased workload outside of the normal faculty duties. This increased workload should be factored into the transition timeline and budget. The expectation that faculty will simply shoulder the significant move on top of our already substantial workload and without the appropriate training will not support a smooth transition. In summary, moving from Moodle to Canvas is not a simple exchange of platforms. It involves rethinking workflows, investing in training, and managing change at multiple levels. When a decision is made on the potential change, it is my hope the college will approach this transition with a realistic understanding of the workload implications, allocating adequate resources and funding to support and fairly compensate faculty and staff through the change. Doing so will not only minimize disruption, but it will also leverage campus's strengths to enhance learning outcomes in the long term. Thank you.
Jen Farrow, followed by Kate Sullivan and Drusilla Winters.
Hi, my name is Jen Farrow, and I'm reading a statement on behalf of Jamie Goodrich, or Chef Jamie, part-time faculty member and LCCEA member in the culinary program. I'm reading this as an LCCEA union member in solidarity with my faculty colleagues. Dear members of the board, I've now been with the college for 3 years, and it wasn't until recently that I even felt comfortable advocating for a raise, although I have not yet advocated for myself on this topic. Seeing that we are currently 7.01% behind in keeping up with inflation is deeply concerning, especially when that gap directly affects those of us already in uniquely undercompensated roles. As a part-time faculty member who works nearly full-time hours, my position already comes with limited compensation and benefits. The reality is, despite my commitment and workload, I am not being paid in a way that reflects the demands of the job. On top of that, I have to work 2 additional part-time jobs at night just to get by as a single mother, often at the expense of time with my child and the added stress of finding childcare during those hours. Knowing that we're not paid equitably for the time we spend and work we do is disheartening, especially given the time, energy, and passion that I bring to my students and this institution. I share this not just as a personal frustration, but in hopes that these concerns are taken seriously, that the college recognizes the real impact stagnant wages have on faculty well-being, retention, and the overall quality of education we're trying to provide. In addition, the amount of time that we as part-time faculty members must wait for a fall paycheck makes the pay situation even more difficult. Despite the fact that the classes we teach begin at the end of September each fall, we do not see a paycheck until a full month later at the end of October. This issue is very personal to me as a single mother working nearly full-time hours on part-time pay. Even summer, every summer, I face the challenge of finding a temporary job that can cover my expenses, but I've yet to find anything that allows me to meet my financial needs during those months. As a result, I often have to rely on unemployment or assistance programs like TAMF and food stamps just to get by. Then, when the fall term starts, I'm already working several weeks without pay, only to receive my first paycheck much later in the month. This creates an ongoing financial strain that I've been managing for the past 3 years. It's becoming increasingly difficult to make ends meet. In fact, I often feel more financially strained than the students I teach, many of whom are working hard to pay for their education. This cycle of delayed pay and reduced income is incredibly challenging and impacts not only my ability to care for my family, but also my overall well-being. Thank you.
Hi. Good evening, board members. My name's Kate Sullivan. I'm a longtime faculty member, a union member, and currently I'm chairing the Academic Program Review Oversight Committee at Lane. I'm reading a statement on behalf of another LCCEA member, Tammy Solomon, who's the faculty curriculum coordinator. Tonight, I would like to share with you a concern regarding campus safety and security. This is one of the priorities faculty identified in a survey conducted after the lockdown. Specifically, faculty have determined that we would like to see enhanced safety measures taken across campus that would be in place in the event of a lockdown or public health emergency. In February 2023, LCC experienced a lockdown, and the campus community was not prepared, as it should have been, to respond to this event. A memo from August 2023 that LCC's General Counsel sent to the LCC president identified additional critical needs and steps that the college should take in order to be better prepared for the future. For example, some of the critical needs include training for employees on lockdown procedures and sheltering in place, locking mechanisms and window coverings for safety areas, functioning locks on all classroom doors, enhanced physical safety measures within classrooms, designated emergency gathering spots in each building, ensuring intercom speakers are working and audible in all areas of all buildings, and providing adequate emergency supplies for an incident in which sheltering in place is required. These are some of the recommendations that arose from the 2023 lockdown incident, and while some steps have been taken, the campus community has not seen any larger safety plan, nor have we had ongoing training on what to do during a lockdown situation. Knowing what to do or where to go during an emergency is critical and should be something that we practice each year. We should all know where to locate safety procedures and what to do within our buildings and the classrooms where we teach. I appreciate your consideration of these matters, and thank you for your time.
As we have increased our administrative staff, we have decreased our planning. That is obvious from what we've listened to tonight. And it's obvious from what I experience as a tutor in TRIO. TRIO will probably not exist next year. And yet there has been no plan to meet the needs of the students we serve. It seems to me that if you increase managerial staff, you should increase your planning. You should be prepared ahead of what is happening. I know it's a challenging time. I'm not denying that. But what I see is lack of preparation. I see vital programs being cut. There were ones mentioned tonight that I was not even aware of. This is totally unacceptable. I speak as a matter of the public. I don't need a job. Unlike the teachers here, I'm not in need. I'm an old lady and I'm retired, basically. So I don't need to work. I do it because I happen to love what I do. It is disgusting to me that any one of, for that matter, our student tutors in TRIO could do as good a job pre-planning as I'm seeing from the administrators of this college. And that is very disappointing. I've heard better from faculty, I've heard better from students than from the administration. I think we deserve pre-planning. I think we deserve a plan and a vision for where we're going, not just more at the top. Thank you.
We have an online speaker, William Parham.
Yes, thank you very much. I just wanted to say that how far do we bend the knee? What do we bend the knee to? A little DEI here, a little immigration right here, a civil rights violation here. And what do we show that we care about? When do we draw the line? Budgets are designed by care. They are barometers to what we care about. What does Lane Community College want to show they care about? Do they want to show that they care about diversity and gender equity? Do they want to show that they care about their neurodivergent students? Do they want to contribute to their mission of equity and to continue their mission to students who rely on budget funds to be able to live and learn? What type of institution do we want to leave for the future? Do we want to embrace equity and embrace accessibility? Or will we bend the knee and roll up the ladders and increase the wealth inequity in this town? A county that sees its workers earning $1 less than the national average. I went to school at Long Beach City College. It was some of the hardest years of my adult life, but it was through this opportunity that I was able to transfer to Long Beach State, where I earned my degree and set myself up for the roles and career opportunities I've been so fortunate to have. My experience at community college gave me an opportunity of a lifetime, And if it wasn't for the financial aid and special access programs that allowed me to go to school, I don't know where I would be today or what my today would look like. Maybe I would be one of those negative statistics. Thank you.
Anne McFrail, followed by Jim Salt.
Good evening. My name is Anne McGrail, hopefully not Frail, faculty in humanities, and I'm speaking tonight on behalf of LCC's athletic coaches to shed light on the incredible, often unseen contributions our coaches make to this institution and our student athletes. Our athletic coaches are the backbone of our athletic programs. They're not just coaching a sport. They're actively engaged in the recruitment, retention, advising, and offboarding of student athletes. They're crucial in fulfilling the college's desire for every student athlete to have a college experience marked by progress, persistence, and completion. They are mentors, guides, and unwavering advocates for our students' success, both on and off the field. It's also important to acknowledge the significant financial burden they often carry. Our coaches are constantly fundraising out of necessity to supplement their program's budget. This isn't an occasional task. It's an ongoing effort to ensure their teams have the necessary resources to compete and thrive. And their work ethic, it's simply astounding. These coaches work a full week consisting of practices, scheduling, coordinating, and administrative tasks. They drive for hours and then to play and then coach, only to turn around and drive home the same day. They even work on holidays, consistently going above and beyond. The hours they dedicate to their roles far exceed a standard 40-hour work week. Yet despite these immense contributions and the incredible time commitment, their stipend-paid roles do not equitably compensate them for their time. This compensation structure simply doesn't align with the college's compensation philosophy for its faculty. During the academic year, their work week ranges from 30 to 60 hours a week. Even some weeks during summer require up to 40 hours of work time. Their stipends are roughly $18,000 to $28,000 per year. We are asking so much of these dedicated individuals, and it's time their compensation truly reflected the invaluable work they do. We must do better for them. Thank you.
Excuse me, Chair, is there any way to get that blind up? Everybody's in silhouette for me and it's starting to really strain my eyes.
Yeah, we could just ask staff to try and do that.
The up arrow off
This one, this one?
above that.
Give us just 1 second. We'll figure it out and
Oh, I just wanted the one. All right, that's good.
okay.
Okay, well. My apologies.
Yep. Okay, I think we got it figured out.
All set?
You're on.
All right, thank you. Good evening, board members. My name is Jim Salt, Dr. Salt, if we're being formal. I've been a sociology professor for 35 years, 27 of them here at Lane. I sat at this board's table longer than anybody currently sitting at it, even Brett. He was in the back. I speak tonight as a proud member of the faculty. Oh, I meant to say I sat at the table as the Faculty Association president. It's likely obvious to all by now that the administration has effectively and shockingly declared war on Lane's faculty, our association, and our mutual contract for reasons unexplained and frankly unexplainable. But I want to talk about the authority behind this act. The great German sociologist Max Weber, I hope some of you know him, wrote a lot about authority, by which he meant legitimate power. Power alone for Max is the ability to make others do things they don't want. Authority, by contrast, is when people accept the right of those with power to do so. It's central to social stability and public trust. But when authorities misuse power to do things that violate social norms and values, even if they have the formal authority to do so, Max would say this replaces authority with mere domination, power, but no legitimacy. Legal power isn't enough. Acts must be moral to be legitimate to have any authority. Which brings us back to Lane. The question is, what moral authority does the administration's bargaining team have to launch this assault on our joint contract? Where is the legitimacy behind the proposals to negate fundamental components of our agreement? The negations that would dramatically increase workloads, slash healthcare, cut job security, lay off part-time faculty, cut salaries, seize control of faculty professional development, eliminate faculty say over whether we work summers or work overtime at part-time rates, mind you, and a long list of other attacks. Neither the faculty, obviously, nor our community or students, I believe, will see any legitimacy to this, any moral authority. And I'm confident there's no majority on the board calling for such a gutting of our mutual contract either, or this assault on faculty. I'm also sure that no board member wants to see the level of disruption and division, especially of our students' education, that will take place at our college if this administration's attack is not quickly withdrawn. But the good news is that because the board has final authority over all contracts, it also has the power, and I would say responsibility, to stop this assault on a contract built between the board and faculty over now 50 years. This is your decision, despite what others may tell you. For the sake of the college, I exhort the board to ensure the president directs the immediate withdrawal of the administration's attacks and appoints bargaining team representatives who respect the faculty and our association and who understand what moral authority requires in a college. Thank you.
Wendy Rose Aaron, followed by Zara Pastos, Marge Helzer, Devin Lawson, and Eric Kim.
Hi, my name is Dr. Wendy Rose Aaron. I'm faculty in mathematics. And I hate being here right now. I'm only here because my colleagues have asked me to be here. And for them, I would do just about whatever I had to. So I'm here to play a game. This is a game you've heard a lot about the proposals that the union and the college has proposed. And this is a game called Whose Proposal? I'm going to read a proposal from either the administrator's proposal or the union's proposal, and I ask you to think, is this something that the union asked for or something that the administration is asking for? So this is supposed to be fun. All right. So the first one is I'm asking you, whose proposal do you think it is? That we are offered a 1.3% cost of living agreement, which is not retroactive if the agreement is reached after July 2024. That's right. That's an administration proposal. We also have a proposal that includes a total of a 6.1% cost of living adjustment. And this includes both the status quo COLA of 3.1% plus a 3.1% in year one for uncompensated inflation. That's a union proposal. Another proposal I would like for you to consider, whose proposal severely reduces faculty insurance benefits and cuts choices to 2 plans only. God, I love you guys. That's an administration proposal. Glad I'm not up here alone. Glad I'm not up here alone. Okay, so another proposal, whose proposal adds a cost savings HSA, which is a health savings account option for faculty who choose that eligible plan. That's a union. I'm gonna do 2 more and then I'm gonna pass it off to my colleagues. Whose proposal would make no movement towards pay parity for part-time faculty? That's an administrator proposal. And then we have whose proposal would establish pay parity for our beloved part-time faculty, which is defined as 85% of the contracted salary.
I'm proud to say that's a union proposal. The statement will, or the game, excuse me, will be continued by my colleagues.
Good evening. My name is Zara Pastos. I'm adult basic secondary education teacher, and I stand in solidarity with my LCCEA colleagues, my other union brothers and sisters, and all of our students. So let's continue the game, shall we? Whose proposal would create mandatory overloads for virtually all contracted faculty? That's right, the administration's. Whose proposal would increase the TLC factor for lab and lecture lab to 1.0 to create equitable workloads? Unions. Awesome job so far. Whose proposal would impede student success by removing class size maximums and creating large classes at up to 150% over current norms? The administration's. Whose proposal will promote student learning by right-sizing classes to 30 for lectures and 24 for labs? Unions. 100% so far, nice. Whose proposal would reduce class sections available for assignments to part-time faculty, resulting in their loss of work and compensation? That's right, the administration's. Whose proposal promotes reasonable workloads and recognizes that 38% of faculty already work 50 hours a week and 19% work 60 hours or more a week? The unions. Whose proposal has no language to address safety? That's right, the administration's. Whose proposal provides language for campus security based on LCC's own attorney's recommendation for improving safety on campus? Unions. Whose proposal would allow layoffs with only 60 days notice such that a faculty member could find out on July 15th that their job is permanently eliminated effective September? The administration's. Whose proposal provides stability for faculty to stay current in their field with professional development to meet any new requirements for their position? The unions. Doing awesome so far, keep it up. Whose proposal would allow the college to assign individual or program faculty to teach any 3 consecutive terms that it could include summer? The administration's. Whose proposal maintains fall, winter, and spring as the default academic year like the rest of the colleges and universities in the nation? That's right, the unions. 100% so far. Keep it up.
Good evening, I'm Marge Helzer, and I'm a member of LCCEA in solidarity with my colleagues. And I will continue. Whose proposal eliminates contractual requirements for managers' training on bias and discrimination? The administration. Whose proposal increases support for basic needs, services, and reduced costs for students? The unions. Whose proposal eliminates contractual language providing student access to the student health clinic? Yes, the administration's. Whose proposal expands sanctuary campus provisions? Yes, the unions. Whose proposal eliminates the requirement to maintain a longhouse steward and Native American Student Association coordinator as distinct positions? Yes, the administration. Whose proposal provides for an instructional specialist to assist students in classes with significant ADA accommodations? Yes, the union. And one last, whose proposal eliminates JEDI faculty positions and curriculum development funding to address the needs of marginalized populations? The administration. Thank you.
Good evening. I was going to talk about the faculty contract, but I think y'all did a great job. So I am going to talk about the budget. My name is Devin Lawson. I'm a student here at Lane, and I recently ran for this board. On the campaign trail, I was publicly ridiculed by my opponent for being 18 years old. She said that I had no business near a budget, that this year's budget would be too complex and too important for someone like me. Well, I've seen the budget now. And I'll say clearly that this 18-year-old knows a lot better than a couple of grown adults. This budget is racist to our Indigenous students. It is hostile to students with disabilities, and it harms equity and inclusion.
Sorry, Devin, I have a point of order from a colleague. Devin, do you want to speak to your point of order?
Your point of order is no personal attacks on board members.
Okay, if you could please refrain from any personal attacks on board members. Thank you.
Will do. Thank you. You say that the board says that these are your values, and then you turn around and defund the very people and programs that make those values real. The board is wanting to cut the LPN program, a program that my fiance was planning to attend, which is blocking access to healthcare and working class BIPOC students while talking about efficiency. That is not leadership. That is cruelty dressed up as pragmatism. They are failing the students who most need the college to function. And you're doing it while calling yourselves stewards of education. This isn't just a budget, it's betrayal. I know a lot of students who are very deeply disappointed, obviously myself included. This community deserves better. Thank you.
Eric Kim.
That's not.
Good evening, Lane Community College Board of Education, Dr. Bolger. My name's Eric Kim. I teach psychology in the social science division. I'm here to summarize my public comments over the last year and why I think learning psychology and the social sciences help students and the community. There's a handout with memes that inspired and summarized my public comments over the last year. Someone once asked, why should I pay for a bridge I don't cross or pay the salary of a politician I didn't vote for? We're paying for a democracy, a civil society, and the greater good. Success in treating social problems such as crime, poverty, climate change, discrimination, or obesity involves people changing their behavior. That's hard. Changing the collective behavior is harder. This is why technological solutions can be appealing. If we don't understand the nature of the problem, we're going to take the wrong action to address it and get nowhere. As technology advances, we're still going to leave the coffee on top of our vehicle. That's just how the brain works. Last year, I talked about how psychology and the social sciences helps us make good choices, become a better version of ourselves, and foster a civil society. Secure attachments help you perceive and remember positive events instead of negative events. It facilitates better emotional regulation and development of good social relations and cognitive development. Helping behavior is enhanced by a mind not overloaded with distractions. Good social relations is facilitated by kindness and generosity and hampered by contempt, criticism, and hostility. Regular practice and feedback increases student success. Praising effort and not punishing failure improves achievement motivation. To reach your goals, state your goals in what you will do instead of what you won't do. I will eat healthier is a better goal statement than I will avoid fast food. To think creatively, you need the freedom to explore, a diverse education, and the ability to evaluate information. A mind not filled with distraction and a supportive community helps people think creatively. Studying psychology and the social sciences helps us create better relationships, better employees, better decisions, a better society, and address social problems by understanding people. Thank you for your time. The adventure will continue.
Thank you to everyone who provided testimony. That is the conclusion of public comment. We will be moving on to the report section of the board agenda. The first report is the president's report.
Thank you.
Chair Mulholland. In the interest of time, I will keep my report very, very brief. A copy of my report is in the board packet. I'll just mention that we have that I was mentioning a lot of celebrations, a lot of accomplishments, some things that I'm proud of. The President Student Leadership Council circle with 20 students, and talked also.
President Bolger, do you just want to give 10 seconds, let everybody leave the room? That way we can all pay attention to your important report.
Okay.
Real quick, Chair, can we let the people in the overflow room know that there's open seats?
For folks in the overflow room, there are now a number of open seats at the room here if you would like to come to the main room. Thank you. President Bolger, please proceed.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'll repeat that. So I will keep my report very, very brief in the interest of time. Really appreciate the public comment. I listened to every single person who actually shared in public comment and really, really appreciate your thoughts. My report is in the board packet. It talks about a lot of celebrations and accomplishments that we've had this year. I'm particularly proud of the President's Student Leadership Circles, our inaugural circle with 20 students, and we all enjoyed that time together. Really, really pleased that the Budget Committee last week, which comprises the Board of Education members and also citizen members, approved and moved forward a budget that the board is going to review and discuss and hopefully approve this evening. It does have several reductions in it, and a lot of the public comment was related to those reductions. I also want to mention that we're continuing the search for the AVP for Culture and Belonging. This is really an critically important position for us. It is something that I shared in communication with the college community today. I want everyone to know that I was very, very pleased that the search committee, most of them are planning to continue on the search committee as we find a good candidate for Lane. For this very important position. I also want to say that cultural competency training is continuing. It has since I arrived at the institution. It's been continuing. It is by law, so the college must continue that. And of course, our bias reporting will continue as well, and that is through Human Resources. And finally, I'll just mention that the Longhouse Steward, who was mentioned this evening, I'm incredibly impressed with the new Longhouse Steward, and I hope that everyone has a chance to meet her. And it's a classified level position, and I think it's probably not more than 4 days old. So I want to wish everyone a happy summer, those of you who will not be with us this summer, and see the rest of you hopefully at commencement, which is going to be on June 14th. See you all there, and that's my report.
Thank you, Dr. Bolger. The next report is from the Lane Community College Education Association. Adrian, will you please provide the LCCEA report?
Good evening, Board of Education members, President Bolger. I'm going to be providing a brief report on a few topics: board elections, campus climate, and BIPOC faculty retention, some updated data, which will include some charts, which I will send to you, and I'll also send to Celia for posting on board docs, and some updates on LCCEA activities. So first of all, congratulations to all board members who won election to represent the people of Lane County and to serve on the board, Austin and Julie. And we also look forward to welcoming Jesse Maldonado and Jerry Rust in July, and are optimistic that the upcoming year will bring more stability to the board. We wish to extend, Denise, I'm looking up at you on the screen, a very special note of appreciation to Denise Diamond for her dedicated service on the board, unwavering commitment to students in the campus community, and support for the Florence campus. Regarding campus climate and BIPOC faculty retention, I would like to address responses to information requests that were posted on board docs last month about faculty separations. It appeared those data pertain to less than 1 year and include all types of faculty positions, including part-time faculty who have term-by-term employment and may not work if no courses are available, which is distinct from a resignation or retirement and is not easily tracked. Full-time contracted faculty positions are highly competitive and are hired through a national search process. The data I've presented over several reports relates to why faculty are choosing to leave. As I noted in April, another full-time faculty member from a historically oppressed racial and ethnic group resigned from LCC suddenly in March, specifically citing working conditions and retaliation by the administration for their advocacy for DEI as factors in their decision. The faculty member is a young, brilliant, early career educator who should have had decades of contributions to make on our campus, so this loss is particularly impactful. Since July 2022, 5 full-time faculty who identify as members of racial and ethnic minorities have resigned or retired earlier than planned from LCC, citing working conditions and their experience as BIPOC faculty as a factor in their decision to separate. That's the why. Among them, at least 2 of these 5 full-time faculty who chose to separate explicitly cited retaliation from upper administration that they had experienced personally as the primary factor in their decision to leave LCC. Notably, these faculty indicated they experienced retaliation after advocating for DEI, advocating for their rights or the rights of other BIPOC faculty, and/or expressing constructive criticism of upper administration, particularly around DEI issues. With fewer than 200 full-time faculty members, this significantly impacts faculty diversity and ultimately our campus climate and service to students. In comparison, over a 15-year period from 2007 to June 2022, 6 faculty who identify as people of color or racial or ethnic minorities separated for similar reasons, according to our records, and firsthand exit interviews with affected faculty. Results from the newest Gallup survey results remain low. This is the all employees results that are published on board docs for today. LCC still remains in the 9th percentile on the question. If I raise a question, if I raise a concern about ethics and integrity, I am confident my employer would do what is right. I hope the board will take note of this report and I have asked, I think, really plainly in previous meetings, and I'm not sure how else to ask, but I do hope you hear the message contained in this report and that you take it seriously and that you take action to address the conditions on campus. I'm sharing in the report on an unrelated topic, a number of data points, including information about student needs from the most recent Hope Center survey of community college students. 59% of students experience at least one form of basic needs insecurity, 41% experience food insecurity, 48% housing insecurity, and 14% experience houselessness. And in the report, you'll also see the strong support among faculty for addressing student basic needs with a very strong majority of around 80% of faculty who identify addressing student basic needs as a high or highest priority, and similar results for faculty support for addressing student needs with wraparound services, such as expanded tutoring, advising, counseling, support staff for immigration questions, and so on. In addition, I will share one slide that includes the support among faculty for following public health requirements. 85% of faculty indicate that this is also a high or highest priority. And likewise, similar strong support among faculty for maintaining job security for part-time faculty as well as contracted faculty. On a final note, I'll share a little bit about LCCEA advocacy activities. In addition to our advocacy in the state legislature, which is ongoing, with a rally at the state capitol tomorrow to continue that last push for additional funding for the Community College Support Fund, faculty are engaged in solidarity activities here on campus and throughout the community. While faculty are seeking to improve conditions for students and address safety, create a more inclusive campus, and provide for essentials for faculty working conditions to meet student needs, we are gravely disappointed to see the administration's approach. The net impact of the administration's contract for faculty would dramatically reduce spending, literally reduce spending on faculty by cutting benefits and significantly increasing workload with mandatory overloads and no class size limits. This would ultimately result in job loss for part-time faculty and layoffs for full-time faculty, which could happen with only 60 days' notice. A faculty member could find out midsummer that their position is eliminated permanently, or that they might be rehired to do 3/4 of the work as a contingent part-time faculty member on a term-by-term basis. Such changes would cause significant disruption on campus and for our students, ultimately creating a precarious workforce without job security and striking at the heart of academic freedom. Academic freedom is not only a precious gem in higher education, it is foundational to our broader democracy. Together with the 482 signers on our petition, faculty will continue working together for our students and our future as we work in coordination and solidarity with our communities in Lane County and throughout the state for the common good. Thank you.
Thank you. The final report is from LCCEF. Tammy, will you please provide the LCCEF report?
Been sitting in the chair for 2 hours, and I have to be honest, it's a long time since I've done that. I was afraid you'd hear my knees cracking all the way here. Or because I can't really feel them. Okay. Good evening, Board of Education and President Bulger. I'm Tammy Hill. As many of you may know, Ryan Ziegler has stepped down from as president of LCCEF. I'd like to take a moment and thank him for his dedicated service and let him know how grateful I'll be that he still continues to be, he will intend to be active in the union in a new capacity. I also want to thank him for his support during the transition and his friendship as well. Following his transition, I've stepped into the role of president. Having served as vice president of labor for the past 2 years, I take this responsibility with confidence and a deep commitment to our members. Since returning to Lane in 2016, I've worked in the president's office under 3 administrations and currently serve in workforce development. These experiences have shaped my understanding of the college and strengthened my dedication to advocating for our classified professionals. That said, members of Lane Community College Education Foundation have collaboratively written the following letter, and I'd like to share it with you all. Good evening, members of the board, President Bulger, and members of the college community, and faculty, of course. We are here tonight as members of the Lane Community College Employees Federation, the classified employee union, the dedicated professionals who work diligently daily to support LCC's mission and serve our students and our community. We're approaching you because bargaining for economic aspects of our contract has recently commenced. Unfortunately, we're already facing significant challenges that cause us grave concern about the college management's approach to these negotiations. We believe in LCC and its mission, and it is because of this belief we must speak out when we see actions that undermine its integrity and its relationship with its employees. LCC and LCCEF are not business competing in a zero-sum game. We are integral parts of one institution, ostensibly working towards shared goals. However, the college's current negotiating tactics seem adversarial, focusing on short-term wins rather than focusing on a respectful, collaborative, long-term relationship. This approach is counterproductive. It damages morale and critically signals to dedicated employees that their contributions are undervalued. For an institution that publicly states that it puts its people first and values employee retention and development, such an adversarial stance in bargaining is a disheartening contradiction. President Bulger has rightly identified improving the campus climate as a key priority, a commitment supported by investments in tools like Gallup survey to measure our workplace environment. We're concerned that the negotiating tactics we are currently experiencing are actively undermining this crucial priority and potentially squandering resources already invested. An approach to bargaining that feels dismissive, inflexible, and based on delay rather than dialogue does not foster a positive climate. It breeds distrust and cynicism. It directly contradicts the college's respectful campus statement and stated goals to cultivate a welcoming, inclusive, safe, and equitable workplace. We must ask, how can we genuinely improve campus climate if the very process of negotiating our working conditions is itself a source of conflict and disrespect? Currently, we are mirrored in the 5th counter proposal for ground rules. We have not started bargaining. We're still in the ground rules. Even the substance of our contract, but simply the rules of how we will negotiate. The college is interested in in-person bargaining sessions. We're being told that Zoom cannot be used for member observation with narrow expectations, only for verified ADA accommodations. When we seek a clear and sufficient explanation for this rigid position beyond the unhelpful assertion that the proposal speaks for itself, none is forthcoming. This instance, which disregards the accessibility needs and legitimate interests of our members, feels less like a principled stance and more like an unfortunate example of the kind of delayed tactics and strategic maneuvering that waste valuable time and erode good faith. Every member was able to observe via Zoom in the prior negotiations of our full contract, and Zoom has now a multi-year history since the beginning of the pandemic of being used to make all college meetings accessible to anyone. To put it simply, we're looking for transparent negotiations. Our union, LCCEF, has agreed to a common sense, inclusive alternative that bargaining sessions be accessible to all of our members, not the general public, via secured Zoom webinars. This proposal is entirely consistent with the concepts of universal access and universal design for learning that LCC champions institutionally. The college definition of UDL emphasizes removing barriers and highlights the inherent commitment to accessibility. We're asking the college to uphold that principle. If LCC is committed to removing barriers for students, why erect them for their employees who wish to be informed and engaged in the process that profoundly affects their livelihoods and their ability to serve those students? It's particularly noteworthy that board meetings offer remote access for public observation. Is that solely because of Lane's stated commitment to inclusivity and accessibility that the board meetings are accessible, or is it because of the Oregon public meeting laws? This rigid exclusionary approach to bargaining sends a particularly damaging message to the newer generation of employees, many of whom bring new, highly sought-after skills to this college. We see these tactics not as true negotiation, but as glaring red flags. It signals a profound disrespect for employees and creates an environment where skilled individuals understandably seek to depart. How can LCC attract and retain top quality employees when its negotiation playbook seems designed to alienate and disempower its current workforce? We want to be clear. LCCEF is prepared and eager to bargain in good faith to achieve a fair and reasonable contract. We seek a process characterized by transparency, mutual respect, and a genuine commitment from both sides to address the issues constructively. Therefore, we urge the Board of Education and President Bolger to guide college management toward a fundamental shift in its bargaining approach with LCCEF. We ask that you ensure that the college negotiates in a genuinely collaborative manner that honors the principles of accessibility and inclusion that LCC professes and abandons tactics that appear designed to delay and obstruct. We're committed to reaching a fair settlement, but the path to the settlement must be one of good faith and straightforward dialogue. Continuing on the current trajectory will only deepen divisions and force us to consider all available options to ensure our members' voices are heard and their contributions are justly recognized. Let us instead choose a path that centers our shared goals outlined in the strategic plan, which is to engage in continuous improvement and support the well-being of all employees. So here's the deal. we want our employees to be able to be part of their future. We want them to be able to listen to what's happening, be engaged in what's happening. The Zoom request is not so they can talk back. They're not going to make noise. We want them to feel like a part. Classified employees have always felt like the underdog and the less appreciated. And this is just another thing that adds to it. Zoom has been around. There's no reason. There's no plan. There's no recordings. There's nothing. But we want everyone to have a chance to attend. Faculty can change their schedule. They can be where they want to be. Classified don't have that option. Some people have to cover shifts. They have to watch the Zoom from their desk while they're working, or it's just a better way to go so everybody can feel involved and part of a team. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll be moving on to the adoption of the consent agenda. Are there any changes to be made to the consent agenda?
Chair, I just wanted to double check something because I'm not sure if I have all of it and my computer's down, so I won't be able to look at it. The budget's not on the consent agenda,
No,
correct?
it is not.
Thank you so much.
Just noting that we moved.
Right. And we have moved item B to the first of the discussion or the first of the action items. So can I have a motion to approve the,
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All please say no. Seeing none, that passes unanimously. The first item in our action items is I'm just wondering if we could jump right into we should probably take a short break. I'm wondering if we should do that now or probably after the budget is what I'm guessing. We should do this for the next 30 minutes and then take a break after. So our first resolution is number 705. Do I have a motion on this action item?
Question.
Yes.
Did I hear you say we had moved?
I'm sorry. Actually, you're right.
Last.
No, you're right.
The action items is fine with me. I don't care. It doesn't.
No, we moved it to first. So you're right. So let's see, where are we?
We moved 6B to 7A.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
Man, you can just hand it over to me.
It's now the item. It's the first in the action.
First of the action items.
Yes, yes.
Okay. I don't know why I don't have on trouble finding it. There it is. So I'm just gonna pass to Steve and let Steve introduce this.
Thank you, Zach.
Thanks.
Well, all right. I was asked by the chair a month ago or so to facilitate the annual review of our president. I thought I'd just take a couple of minutes to explain our process, really for the benefit, not so much of board members, those folks here know the process pretty well, but really for the benefit of faculty, staff, students, and community members, and of course, in spirit of good public process. So we just completed a confidential evaluation and delivered it to President Bulger in the last week or so. And then on behalf of the board, I wrote a letter summarizing the feedback contained in that evaluation. That letter is meant for public consumption. I just thought I'd read the first paragraph of it to give everybody just a little bit of flavor of where we've come from, where we're and the general consensus of the board. The Lane Community College Board of Education completed a thorough review of President Bulger's leadership at Lane Community College with positive results. As is typical at the end of a president's third year, the board hired an outside consultant to collect detailed feedback from board members, faculty, staff, and community leaders. After reviewing this comprehensive feedback, the board wishes to thank President Bulger for her strong and effective leadership of the college and looks forward to working with her next year and beyond.
So probably make a.
I'm almost there, Zach. The letter continues on. I just wanted to move at this point to approve this letter summarizing the board's evaluation of its president as the public record of the process and its result.
Second.
Any discussion? I have Kevin in the queue.
Yeah, I just want a short comment here. So this is a time to celebrate, I believe, our one employee, our Chief Executive, Dr. Stephanie Bolger, who's demonstrated exceptional leadership in the relatively short time that she's been here at the college. She's made significant advances in the 3 areas that the board has asked her to look at, and that is enrollment, fiscal stability, and what is the third one? The campus climate, which continues to be an important issue, as we have heard. Since assuming her role in July of 2022, she's successfully shepherded a 18% increase in enrollment. Is that what I'm hearing? Is that correct?
That's what we're hearing. Yes.
Yeah. Which is, kind of a lot of things flow from an increase in enrollment. She's put together a professional leadership team, and they share her values of student success and making the college better. So I'm looking forward to working with you now and in the future to make the college even better than it is now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other folks want to, I think I'm facilitating for the moment. If other folks want to jump in the queue, go ahead, Julie.
I just want to kind of ditto what Kevin just said. I've been on the board for a short period of time, and I've been impressed with you. I've been impressed with the team that you've put in place to assist you, and making sure that the student success is front and center and all of our work. And I'm very impressed, and I'm looking forward to working with you now that I'm elected 4 more years.
Thank you, Julie.
Zach, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to, point to the, exemplary success we've had in growing enrollment. And I think we're going to be discussing a little bit later tonight the positive trends that we're seeing with regards to campus climate as seen in the campus climate survey results. And we'll be getting a composite financial index at the end of the summer from the state that the state is working on that'll, I expect, show continued progress on improvement in fiscal management. So just want to thank the president and her team for all of the amazing work that you're doing and look forward to approving this letter.
Yes. Sorry, Zach.
You're good.
Go ahead,
Denise.
Thank you. I wanted to emphasize and compliment the president on her absolute involvement and willingness to go out to rural communities and to be listening and engaged with them. She definitely is not a president who stays in her office. So to come out to Florence and many other communities, Mapleton and Cottage Grove and all around, to be available, to connect with community resources, and to be present and seen and available, I think has really made a very positive impression on communities and community leaders. And thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Denise.
And Steve.
Yeah, I'll just add some of the feedback we received from our consultant showed particularly strong marks with regard to the relationships you've built with community leaders. This really picks up on what Denise just said, and it goes far beyond educational leaders. Folks in this I forget the number of school districts that we have here in Lane. You'll of course will know. I know you've met with most, if not all, of their superintendents, and of course you're meeting with all kinds of business leaders and helping to think through how to reestablish Lane as a workforce hub and get them reconnected, those that we may have lost connection with over the years, get them reconnected to Lane. So this is all really great stuff to really center Lane Community College as the gem that it is for our community. I also just wanted to take a moment to just to recognize the difficult environment that you are working in. There's no sidestepping that. It's was evidenced tonight. And thank you for your poise and diplomacy as you kind of take that in and think of the best ways to respond and move forward. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, I think we're ready for a vote.
Chair Mulholland, if you
Yes.
don't mind me just making one or two statements.
Just press a button.
Sorry.
Any button.
There you go. So I really do appreciate this very, very much. You know, leadership is really about others. It's not about you. And I want to acknowledge that there are faculty and classified professionals who are in the audience, because it is all of us together that's really making all of the things that came up in my evaluation possible. And I could not be happier with being here at Lane and working with these really talented people. You heard all of the public comment tonight. These folks are incredibly passionate about their students and our students. They're incredibly passionate about them. And so I just really, really appreciate the opportunity to work alongside all of you.
With that, all in favor, please say aye.
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 And all opposed, please say nay. And that passes unanimously. Okay. We will be moving on to the action items. The first action item we have is a motion to approve resolution number 705 regarding the FY 24-25 budget transfer authorization. Should we ask questions on each resolution, or do you want us to ask all of our questions now before voting on all of them? Any preference?
It's really the pleasure of the board, and we will take questions as questions come up. We can certainly take the resolutions together. If all except D, you'll probably have separate questions about that one, but it's up to the board.
They're resolutions. I think we need to take them one at a time.
Okay, so let's get a motion on the first resolution, and then we can discuss and go through those one at a time.
Go ahead, Julie.
I move to pass resolutions 705, the fiscal year 24-25 budget transfer authorization as stated on the board docs. Will that be acceptable?
Is there a second?
Yeah.
And I'll second.
Okay, and any questions or discussion? Unless I see anyone else, I will go ahead and put myself in the queue. Can you pull up the document of the transfers if possible? Celia, there was a transfer, it looked like within the early retirement fund of about $1 million from instruction to, it's Fund 7. So from instruction to non-departmental revenue. And I was just wondering what the reasoning behind this is, and if you could share a little bit of what's going on with that budget transfer.
Sure, I can answer that. And I say this with the auditor sitting behind us, but historically, what ends up happening when a faculty member retires, they're no longer categorized in instruction. They're actually categorized in this non-departmental revenue. And if we look at historical times, the actual expenditures are happening in non-departmental. They have been happening that way in previous years. However, the budget has not been aligned with how the expenditures are happening. One of the positive things of having new auditors, they look at new things. This particular one didn't come to light, but they asked a lot of questions about our budget aligning with our expenditures. When we go back and do a comparison of where we're projecting to expend, this was one of them that was also corrected in the budget document. So if you see the budget book, you'll also see it's a non-departmental revenue. So we're correcting where the accounting is actually happening. And it doesn't change any practice, doesn't change how that fund is being spent or what it's being used for. We're aligning it with the actual accounting expenditures.
That's very helpful. Thank you. Any other questions or discussion of this resolution? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 And all opposed say nay. Okay, that passes unanimously. The next action item tonight is a motion to approve resolution number 706 regarding the adoption and appropriation of the FY 25-26 budget. Do I have a motion on this action item?
I'll keep making motions if you'd like. I move that we approve resolution number 706, the FY 25-26 budget adoption and appropriation as presented in the board docs.
Is there a second?
Sure, I'll second.
Okay, questions or discussion? Austin?
Yeah, Board Chair, I added 3 amendments to the budget that I would love for the board to discuss. I can go ahead and read off what those amendments look like and the reason as to why I would love for the board to discuss and support these amendments to the budget. May I do so?
Point of order? When did you make budget amendments?
Yeah, so I submitted this to the chair, vice chair, president, and Celia. I asked that that be considered and put into the board docs.
So in terms of, so actually, I maybe need a clarification on process. So would these be motions to amend the resolution? Would that be the correct process?
Correct. Yeah, correct. Because it's the adoption of the budget, correct?
Okay.
Excellent. The budget can have amendments and discussion of those amendments. And we are a policy and budget board, so we can have discussions about the budget in this motion and in this discussion.
Okay.
And I'm bringing forward these amendments.
Okay. So if it's possible, I think it would make sense to vote on the amendments to the main motion one at a time, and then to vote on the final amended motion when we're at the end of the amendments. So yes, please go ahead and read your motion.
Point of personal privilege. Where are the amendments? This is the first I've even heard of it.
Again, I emailed and
No, I get it that you might have done that. I'm asking the chair.
So 2 things. So first, if Celia, if you have the hard copy of those and can put those up on the screen for everyone, that I think that would be very helpful. And then Austin is going to start by reading the motions, and then it sounds like we'll make motions to amend the main motion. And then Kevin, it looks like you have a point.
Well, yeah, I just want a clarification to address Julie's concern. It was actually a document that was posted in the agenda, and I don't remember the title of it.
Thank you.
Let's see here. Was it response to information requests?
I didn't see it in there. I did see my other questions and information requests.
Solid questions and
Or maybe it was, I know it was in an email.
Yeah.
I don't know that it ever got
No,
included in the agenda.
No,
Yeah,
it
so I
didn't.
think we're on a little bit of a high center here.
yes, I have to apologize. We certainly didn't receive any guidance to place it in as amendments into the board docket. So we didn't receive any guidance on that. We received your email. I definitely saw it and read it this morning, and didn't receive guidance from our leadership about what to do with that. And so we did not. In fact, I thought that maybe you would. I thought that was going to be done here in the meeting, and that you would somehow want to talk about amending.
Absolutely. And
amending
that was
resolution.
Yeah,
at some
absolutely.
point.
That was the main point of my question to begin with was what would be the best process for me to do it? From the guidance of the chair is to bring them up one at a time as a motion to amend. And if there's a second, then okay.
I second.
Oh, well, I probably need to read the motion first.
Yeah, but I were getting that up on the screen. Is that still being a possibility so everybody can see the same document?
Yep. And I'll read them one at a time.
That'll be fine. And then we'll let Austin read the 3 and then make them one at a time so we can discuss them one at a time.
I'm happy I already have a second. That's great. So yeah, if you scroll down to the sentence that says each percentage increase in enrollment. So in each percentage, so this is just information, and then I'll get to the motion to amend. Each percentage increase of enrollment is approximately $290,000 worth of tuition revenue. The budget is currently based off of a 2% enrollment growth. So if we did 3% instead of 2%, that would add an additional $290,000. This is an estimation, of course, and so forth. My amendment to the budget is actually to increase it to 2.5% instead of 2%. This would add approximately $145,000 to the budget, so that we and that can go towards is it the exact amount, $675,000 for program and student services cuts? Okay, so as you can see, what I'm trying to do is cut that amount down. I don't want cuts to students and programs. I'm wearing a pin that says, I am pro-student. And I want a budget that is going to reflect our values around students. So this first one here, we've done this before. In fact, once under the recommendation of the president. And this is a really small amount increase in the budget calculation to go from 2% enrollment increase, which is a rather conservative number, by the way, to 2.5%, so that we can add $145,000 to the budget. I'd like to make that a motion to amend the budget.
So to restate, the motion is to amend the main budget to change the enrollment growth from 2% to 2.5%, with the additional funds raised, reducing the cuts.
Correct.
To programs and services.
Correct.
I second that. It's very reasonable.
Are there discussion or questions?
Chair, if I might.
Yes.
We've got a board member who would like to talk, but we'd like to give some perspective on the 2% that was placed into the sustainable budget.
Yeah.
When there's opportunity.
That's one of my questions.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, we can
So,
certainly-
first of all, just kind of an umbrella statement. I think the board can and should be able to make some minor changes to the budget. And at the same time, we should be very careful about any changes that we make from what the budget committee approved unanimously, should be communicated very transparently so that the public understands what those changes are. So, in my mind, this is a small adjustment. And my question to the president and the staff is, can you talk to the board about this idea of increasing the enrollment forecast to 2.5%?
And we do have a rationale for our position here. Kara?
Yeah, there's twofold to this. And just to add context, this was also part of the agreed upon framework that came from College Council, was at 2%. We did have a lot of discussion in our budget development subcommittee before it went to College Council, and now that's what's presented in the budget. From a financial perspective, what I would say is that if we went from 2% to 2.5% in revenues, the $145,000 could do two things. One, it could add to the ending fund balance, which means we have less we have to reduce next year. And two, if we received additional revenues, that is something where we would have more money to help reduce some of those areas that we didn't have to. However, the bigger concern is a lot of, I've been budgeting for 20 some years, honestly. And when you start building up revenues just to add budgets, you want to build in a revenue that you're going to sustain for that year. And so I've asked the IR department and institutional research department to be here and available to discuss why we were recommending and pushed for 2%. So if you wouldn't mind listening to.
Yeah, I would find that helpful. Yeah.
Love to introduce you to Keith.
Yeah, this is Dr. Comer, everyone, Dr. Keith Comer, and he's fairly new to our institution as the Director of Institutional Research and Planning. Did I get the title correct? Okay, Keith.
Good evening, board members, President Bolger. This process of working through our enrollment projection for next year began about 3.5 months ago. We met with the budget development subcommittee on this, and Kathy Nobbs and I came up with some projections to look at this as carefully as we could for next year, a little bit beyond. In week 9 of winter term, we were seeing a mix of positive and concerning enrollment trends. For example, our continuing students and our returning students were both up by healthy figures, 16% and 14% year on year, as in winter to winter. Okay, and that's great. We're looking good there. But new students, as compared to winter term 2024, were up just 2% at that point in time. And overall credit enrollments with new students were down 1% in winter term at that point. So we're already seeing a bit of a leveling off in our gains of the past few years. Consequently, those winter term gains of 13% in terms of FTE, the money we're getting, versus 2023 or 2024, and 14% for headcount, the number of students we have, were results in increases for continuing students, as in from term to term, and returning folks who'd been away from more than one or more terms. Okay, that's positive with regard to our student experience. Makes us look really good. We're doing the right things to try and get those students through. Okay, and also our student care. but it's concerning in connection with any predictions around growth for the coming year. So our latest enrollment update this week, looking at where we're at for fall this coming term versus fall last year, okay? Those patterns that we saw in March are persisting, right? Here we're comparing those enrollments on a week-by-week basis, the same week of the year. So these are not the final ones, obviously, for fall this year, but these are pretty good comparisons over time. So at this date, fall-to-fall credit enrollments are up 4.8% overall. That's only due to gains in continuing students, they're up 7%, and returning students up 3%. New student credit enrollments are down 2%. Similarly, the projected fall-to-fall headcount is up 9% from last year, but again, this is due to our continuing and returning students. Continuing are up 12%, returning are up just 1% this year so far. For headcount, our new students, as in unique new individuals to LCC that we have right now, are up only 1% at this point in time, and that's concerning. As we saw back in March, there's still positive news with regard to our student care, okay, how we're taking care of that student experience, so that's really helpful, but that growth issue is now not looking so strong. So that pattern that we've seen this year so far in the last 4 or 5 months of minimal gains or even small drops in new student enrollments suggests that the range of issues that we talked about with the Budget Development Subcommittee are indeed make themselves apparent. So while we've had these kinds of gains for the past 2 to 3 years, that potential for growth has now appeared to be tabling off for a range of factors talked about in a moment, or even possibly declining. We want to be very concerned about that. In the multiple meetings we took part in as part of that budget development subcommittee process, we noted some of these factors. So for example, with growth, this year is the peak number of Oregon high school graduates coming out of schools, okay? It's also the peak number of projected high school graduates coming out of Lane County high schools this year. And the Oregon Portland State University's Office for Population Research Center basically has us going downhill slightly year on year from now until 2042. So this is as good as it gets for folks coming out of high schools in the near term. This is that demographic cliff that's being talked about in all kinds of ways. And it's not as dramatic in Oregon as it is, for example, in California. For us, it's 19% over the next 17 or so years. For California, it's nearly 30%. So it could be a lot worse. But if we're looking at what those high school figures mean for us too, in connection with college now or early college dual enrollment figures, we see these students as they come in for us progressing and completing at higher rates, except we're going to have fewer of them. So we have to work harder to recruit them and harder to keep them if we can get some of them. As part of that budget development process, we also looked at the number of Lane students that receive Pell Grants, okay? So right now, okay, we've had a 3-year growth in Pell Grant rates for our students, and we're about 30% of our students get Pell Grants, which is really helpful. And those students are generally retained and complete their programs at higher rates than other new students for us, okay? So again, that's a good sign. But back in March and April, we noted the uncertainty and confusion surrounding general student financial aid across the country, and Pell Grants in particular, which could lead to enrollment declines here, especially for our new students. We don't know right now if or how the Pell Grants may change this year. The current proposed budget in Congress has some very alarming factors for us. For example, it looks to redefine full-time enrollment, and that would change to students having to complete 15 credits per term, whereas now it's 12. That would probably impact about 20% of our students receiving Pell Grants right away, okay, making for reduced aid for them. It would also eliminate aid for less than half-time students. So students taking less than 8 credits per term, often our adult learners, would lose any access to Pell Grants. That could impact hundreds of our students here immediately. Consequently, any declines in those Pell Grant funding levels of aid would impact or could impact up to 30% of our students almost overnight beginning this fall. That's a concern. Not only does that impact us there, it also impacts us with retention and completion rates for our students. So once more, that's a factor we need to consider really carefully in saying, oh, we're going to have more students in some way, shape, or form. We also have to look at our international student cohort. So while only slightly less than 3% of Lane students last year, full year, were international students, they are retained and continue in their programs at much higher levels than all our other demographic cohorts. And over the last 5 academic years, the international cohort has graduated, as in completing their programs, at over twice the rate of any other demographic cohort. So that's 3% right at the top we might lose because of what we're seeing in terms of federal actions with respect to the visa appointment suspensions, the expanded vetting requirements for student visas, and the visa revocations. So another factor that could impact basically 2.5% to 3% of our student population almost overnight this fall. In connection with that budget development subcommittee process, IR noted some additional factors that should be considered. In connection with the kind of historical context, if we have a potential recession this year, okay, if that comes about because of all these other changes that are taking place, okay? So for example, the Great Depression, 1929-33, GDP peak decline of minus 27% historically, okay? The 1980 to 82 double dip recession, GDP peak declines of 2% and 3%. Not so big, apparently. In 2007, 2009, that recession saw a peak decline of minus 5% in GDP. Okay. And in 2020, COVID saw a minus 19% peak depression in GDP. Okay, what's that mean for us? Well, in the past, in the 1980s or early 2000s, when we have a recession, economic slowdown.
Denise, you're not muted. Sorry. Go ahead.
Typically, we'd see more students coming in to higher education, community colleges and universities to upskill, get qualifications, get degrees, and that effort was supported typically by expanded federal financial aid. We're not going to see that this year. Okay. So, for example, in 2008, 2009, Lane's credit enrollment during that recessionary period grew 11% in 2009 and 11% more in 2010 in that factor, with those factors considered. In contrast, COVID is the first recession we've seen in which enrollments declined in higher education. Okay? Impacted us and everywhere else. Okay? Despite boosts in federal financial aid and also in state aid for programs. So in March and April, when the IR staff, myself and Kathy Thomas, were recommending that these factors be considered, what we were seeing was the prospect of enrollment growth being either flat, as in 0%, or possibly up to 2% as a max. Okay. And that was then. We also know that significant cut in Pell Grants or other financial aid support for students could well result in marked enrollment declines and almost overnight. There have been no changes or shifts in the landscape towards the positive since we've made these projections. And consequently, from the IR perspective, we think it would not be prudent to look for a 2.5% enrollment gain this time.
Thank you, Keith.
Okay, questions and discussion. I think I've got Denise first and then Austin and then Steve.
I know that that's a lot of perspective, historical and otherwise. I think there's also things, new opportunities that we don't know the results of. For example, especially for new students, being able to program for a whole year out, we anticipate and hope and think that this will have a positive effect on for new students in particular coming in, as well as the outreach that the board has talked about previously for more the adult audience, and getting enrollment increases through that, as well as some of the new programs that are up and running at that we anticipate a lot of interest and enrollment in. I think it's a very small risk to benefit opportunity, and I totally understand how we're in an unknown environment of numerous factors. But I'll say that we also have some positive things that we haven't yet experienced the benefit of, but those vehicles, as I mentioned, are in place. And so I think it's worth the risk if we want to look at it as a risk.
Chair Mulholland, would you mind if I say something?
for it. Go ahead.
You know, I share your optimism, Denise. I could wake up in the morning optimistic every day. I share your optimism, but there's still so many unknowns, even in what you said, and also in the landscape, as Keith, I think, so eloquently stated. Thank you so much for doing that. And the motion on the table really is about reducing any reductions, reducing the amount in programs and services, and that's what we're trying to give perspective on. We generally take a conservative approach with respect to monies, and we would consider monies like these potentially, if they do come in, if it comes to pass, as Kara was saying, as one-time funds because they're not sustainable. So that's why we are sharing our perspective with you.
Okay, I've got in the queue Austin and then Steve.
I just wanted to make sure Julie had her hand up too, and I don't think she had.
I just had comments about the resolution and your amendment. I don't have any questions.
Oh, okay, gotcha. First off, thank you so much for the analysis, and you gave an amazing perspective on various different issues. We currently have, so one thing I would say is, yes, it is a concern with the cliff, especially with high school students, but I would also say that we serve non-traditional students too. And I really appreciate you mentioning the CARES and the STEP program, which is also a part of that. I also want to add the TUI program, which stands for Training Unemployment Insurance. The state is expecting to go into a recession, increasing in unemployment. And one of the reasons why actually during COVID, when unemployment went up, we didn't see increases in enrollments because of the new federal programs. And because of processing of unemployment insurance applications, TUI was negatively impacted by that. That being said, we have around 66,000 so odd people that are on OHP and or food stamps, which would qualify for the CARES and or STEP program. That's our population of students that we could reach out to. That's the population of students who need education, who needs workforce skills to fulfill our labor to our workforce and labor obligations. So overall, I agree, the president, this is a conservative number. And yes, there is a lot of unknowns, but I also know that there's a lot of different variables that also can act in our favor if we do, invest in the right ways in outreach and so forth to this population of people within Lane County. That being said, that's why I did a 2.5 as opposed to 3. And yeah, so with that, and by the way, the last 3 years, 18% enrollment increases. We budgeted for, I think, 5% one year, 4% one year, and so forth. And thank you for your leadership and the work of our faculty and staff. We excelled. We went beyond those budgeted amounts and so forth. And I think that we can do that again. I have trust in our president to be able to do that again. I have trust in our faculty and our staff to be able to do that again. And I feel that we have some great opportunities to reach out within our community to get to 2.5%. It is in faith in this institution and what our capacity and capabilities are, even in these uncertain times, that I want to continue to propose this 2.5%.
Steve?
Thank you. So I appreciate the amendment and, considering ways, ultimately, it's about trying to reduce the potential pain that we're contemplating in the form of the $650,000 worth of program cuts. So I get that, and I get, I think we should be exploring different kinds of ways to reduce that. And I'm also reluctant to make any changes after we've just been through a review with our budget committee, and the strong feedback we got from that budget committee, which includes basically everybody here, right, on the board as well, was to arrive at a so-called balanced budget, right? The original budget, left us with a much bigger hole in the ending balance, and there was a lot of sounding, including by Austin, to let's submit a balanced budget. So we agreed to those more conservative numbers so that we would more likely arrive at the end of the year with a decent reserve, and knowing that we will have to make additional difficult decisions in the years to come in order to build that up. So starting off this multi-year process of rebuilding our reserve right out of the gate, saying, well, maybe we shouldn't do the things that we literally a week ago just said we should initiate, is a bad omen for the difficult process that we've laid out in front of us. So that's a concern of mine. The other concern I have is that, the institution, I am sure, as Austin just said, will make every effort to increase enrollment. That's right. That is our single best way out of the difficulties that we have. So that's going to happen naturally. There's lots of momentum to do that. And should we arrive at a place where the forecasts turn out to be wrong and we end up with 2.5, 3, 5, whatever it is, % increase, what I would expect is that the staff would come to us and say, all right, we have more money than we thought. And by the way, that creates a set of, issues for us, right? That they might say, well, we don't really want to change our position on that $650K cut because these new students actually are not interested in those very programs. They have interests in other programs, which we now need to staff up, right? That we could imagine those kinds of concerns coming to us. So despite the difficulty ahead and the obvious, the urge, right, to avoid it, I think we need to stay the course, stay the path, and confront the difficult decisions that we know we have before us over these next several years.
Okay, not seeing anyone else for a first round. I'm going to go ahead and jump in the queue for a moment, and then I will go to others for second and third rounds. I guess a question. So currently in the budget, the cuts to programs and services, that amount is, can you remind me, is it 625 or
675?
675. And do we have a sense at this moment where those cuts are going to come from?
Is this can I ask a question?
Yes.
Point of order. The amendment that's on the before us is about a 2% versus a 2.5. It's not really about the whole budget. It's just about that.
It's specifically about moving the 2 to 2.5 to reduce the cuts to programs and services.
Okay.
So I think asking about programs and services relevant to.
Okay. Just want to make sure.
Yeah, no, good question, actually. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Zach, what was your question? Do we have a list
know
of them?
what do we have a sense of where that 675, where you expect to propose for that to come from?
No.
Okay. So, I share Austin's concern about having an undefined, set of cuts to programs and services. According to board policies, those, cuts that would eliminate programs or have major substantial changes to programs would have to come before the board. But I guess I see the benefit of trying to find some additional revenues to reduce those amounts. I agree. I think 2% is a rather conservative figure. I understand the reasoning behind that. But given that we are, coming up from sort of, what's the right word? Some of the lowest enrollment rates we've had in a long, long time, that I think that we're seeing this high enrollment growth as we, reinvest in the institution. We're getting back to our historic rates of enrollment. So I'm actually fairly confident we're going to, blow that 2% number out of the water is my strong hope. So I'm personally supportive of the motion as presented, and we'll be voting in the affirmative. And Austin, and then if we have any others, we will. No, Julie, I think you haven't had a first round.
Go first. Again, don't have a question.
Yeah, no. Just overall, in regards to the budget committee process, so this is a time period of uncertainty, which means that it's a time period of pivoting, not a time period of, okay, this is our lane, we're just going to keep on it until the road runs out. We need to be able to be ready to pivot. And this, in the spirit of this, is a pivot. And it's hopefully to inspire other pivots that will help us in this process. We are a policy and budget board. I immensely appreciate the dedication and the work of the budget committee. I really do. I will say that I would have preferred if they had a few more meetings to discuss more choices and options. And I felt like the conversations in those budget committee meetings didn't really focus necessarily on choices and options, and we have a broader conversation about that. So that was something that was a little concerning for me compared to past budget committee conversations. That being said, also, we didn't have access to the audit until, I want to say three days ago. Yeah, 3 days ago, which traditionally we would have that before the start of the budget committee and have that be a part of the discussions and continue to have a broader conversation of the budget because of that. So I will say that this is a time period of pivot. This is a time period of looking at choices and options as opposed to a binary cut or not cut.
Can we move to a vote?
I think we've got Julie, and then we're on.
So, I'm very, very hesitant to increase, when you're doing budgeting, you minimize your income and you maximize your expenses so that you always come out on top. You do not guesstimate high on income that you might be getting in order to justify higher expenses. And so this is just a very uncomfortable to even consider, even though it's a small amount. If we don't hit the mark, then we've made plans around it, and we're not going to meet them. So the current budget, the way that it is with the 2%, recognizes that there's going to be about a shortfall of about $675,000. There's a reason that it's not clear is to give us some flexibility. Oh my God, I have forgotten your name. Keith is the only thing I remember, so I apologize. But Keith outlaid the amazing amount of data that really shows how we're paying attention as an institution. So the administration with the 675,000 is watching that on a weekly basis to see where it is. And we may find that there's a program that we thought was going to have good enrollment and it doesn't. And that's where we don't have to throw the revenue into right now. We can invest it elsewhere. So to have flexibility to be able to use your word pivot is what that 675 unspecified cutbacks is designed for, is to give some flexibility over the next few months and so on. And the administration will communicate with us effectively what's happening. If we miraculously actually get increased enrollment, the administration has to come back to us for budget approval and authority to spend that money. So it isn't like they will now willy-nilly be able to just spend it on whatever they want. They have to actually come back to us with a budget, a supplemental budget to add to it that requires us to give them authority to spend it. So it isn't like this is a cut or no cut that the administration gets to decide how to do things. This is really to provide some flexibility. It's creative in this very uncertain time. And so I'm voting against this measure to increase the 2%. I appreciate wanting to lower that number to be more comfortable, but that's my thoughts.
See, Denise, and then we'll move to a vote.
With the goal of being able to quote unquote save potential programs, I am concerned and persuaded by the nursing faculty and concerned about a program that was announced and students applied for and good to go that now isn't going to happen. And that, that concerns me. And it just really would seem that if we can save some funding there of the 675,000, that's a win. That's really a win for everyone.
Clarification, is there any relationship between the LPN program and the cuts that are proposed in this budget?
No.
Thank you. Okay, with that, I think we should move to a vote on increasing the expected enrollment from 2 to 2.5%. Can we do a roll call vote, please?
Kevin Alltucker,
No.
Denise Diamond,
Yes.
Austin Volnaghi,
Yes.
Steve Mattel,
No.
Zach Mulholland,
Yes.
Julie Weisman.
No.
Okay, that motion to amend fails. Go move on to the next motion to amend.
Absolutely. This motion is in regards to just a little bit of background here, which is the M&S budget, which is around $13.7 million. So this is a budget where even like small savings can actually be incredibly beneficial and achievable. I want to actually just say that we have tapped into this quite a bit through this budgetary process. I am asking for this $300,000 reduction in it to help reduce the cuts to student programs.
M&S.
We need a second first, Kara.
Okay, it sounds like the motion on the table is to reduce M&S spending by $300,000 with the savings allocated to reducing the amount of cuts to programs and services. Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, and any discussion? Do you want to speak to the motion?
Just for clarity, we're talking about materials and services?
Mhm.
And where does that live on the budget? I don't see it as a specific line item.
Title 7? Or no, sorry, Fund 7, sorry.
Yeah, this is where I wanted to provide some clarification. The next two items you're talking about, Austin, are not how we budget. We budget by program level. We don't budget by functional expenditure category. So regardless of where M&S or personnel expenditures or any of those lie, they still only lie at the program level. So it wouldn't actually change this proposed budget. It changes the expenditure line item. So if you look at the resolution, and for example, if you look at general fund, we budget by instruction, instructional support, but we don't budget by M&S and personnel. So for Oregon budget law, we don't budget to the level you're talking about. It's wrapped up within those categories.
And it was a past practice, though, that we have actually taken out of that to allow for prevention of any cuts of programs and funds in past budget cycles.
Yes, and we have already reduced that almost $2 million since the last 2 years.
My request still stands.
I'm sorry, point of order. Is the motion as stated valid, or would there need to be changes to the motion in order to make it a valid motion?
As the motion stands, it wouldn't change the way the resolution is before the board. We don't budget to the level that Austin is proposing. That's on the other end.
Okay, so if this was approved, it would get taken into another process to figure it out?
Well, I would certainly, if you're asking us to, I want to have a conversation with the board about reducing M&S another $300,000. It may be a misconception that that is not going to affect the classroom and affect our students and affect our student services. So M&S, and we really have cut for I've been here 3 years, and at least 2 of those 3 years, we have cut M&S. And Kara gave a figure about $2 million or so. We're at the bone, so to speak, there, and it feels uncomfortable to me.
Okay, understood. In the spirit of collaboration with the president, I'm willing to remove the motion so that we can have a broader conversation about it, like you asked. Yeah, we can, I'll remove that motion, or withdraw the motion rather, to have a broader, more collaborative conversation about that.
Okay, does the second accept the withdrawal of the motion?
Yes.
Okay, or do you have a third?
I do have a third, yes. So this one, just a little bit of history. It looks like, based off of documents I saw from the College Council, voted unanimously, including the president's proxy, to approve a holding of $1 million of the $5 million in vacant positions that are open. And that in itself would be a savings of around $352,000. In addition to, I believe that there's already positions being held at $648,000. But I did not see that I didn't see that $648,000 put back into the budget for essentially reducing any cuts and stuff like that. So my request, my motion, is to amend the budget that would be holding $1 million of the $5 million in vacant open positions with a savings of $352,000 to go towards the deficit and cuts of programs and positions, or programs and services to students.
We would need a second first, Zach.
Is there a second? So the motion is,
I'll second it.
Okay, so the motion is to hold additional positions vacant, so moving from 648 to 1 million for an additional 352,000 of savings, with savings dedicated to reducing cuts in programs and services. Denise has seconded it. Is there, do you want to speak to the motion anymore or?
No, yeah, pretty straightforward, but I do have questions about where the 648,000 that's built into holding those positions, and why weren't they put into the I apologize, I'm a little tired. Into essentially any sort of program cuts.
Kara,
Yeah.
would you?
Yeah, a couple for the 648,000 did get removed from the budget.
Okay.
So that's where you wouldn't see it added, but it would be removed from the budget, and it was. Those positions we're still working on, collaborating on what that would be. And for clarification, the vacancy list that is being referred to with $5 million, only 3.1 million of the 5 million is general fund. That vacancy list includes Fund 8, Fund 9, and other funds that do not correlate to any general fund reduction. So we can't use those. What at this point is on the vacancy list, because many of those were already in process, is there's only one management that's a general fund that's vacant, which is the AVP of Culture and Belonging. And then the rest are all classified in faculty positions. So if you want to remove, we've already removed 648,000 in positions. We remove another 352,000, it will have to come from vacant classified and faculty positions unless there's a decision to move the one management position we have vacant.
Which was the recommendation of both the budget subcommittee and the college council.
Yes, because at the time, there was a thinking that the vacancy list had a lot more vacancies. Since then, there was a lot of positions that were filled. They were posted, filled. And when we went back to look at the list, and this is what we brought to the committee as well, and we went through the list, we've gone through the vacancy list. And again, I just want to make sure people avoid the confusion that there's not 5 million. There never was 5 million in general fund. It was 3.1 million. And that's a really important clarification, because there are a lot of positions that we cannot leave vacant that would help general fund, and you can't backfill general fund positions with other funding sources. So we would have to go back to either the AVP of Culture and Belonging and classified in faculty positions to get to this number.
Okay.
Any other questions or discussion? Okay, seeing none, we'll go to a roll call vote.
Kevin Alltucker,
No.
Denise Diamond,
Yes.
Austin Volnaghi,
Yes.
Steve Mattel,
No.
Zach Mulholland,
Yes.
Julie Weisman.
No.
Okay, that amendment to the main motion fails. I believe we are back to our original main motion as proposed. Any questions or discussion or additional motions? Austin.
We heard from the public, from students, and to not cut these programs, and to look for ways, and to be brave, and to find a way. And I tried, and I encourage all of us as board members to try. Let's look at ways. Let's look at opportunities. Let's look at other revenue sources. Let's look at, even with this administration trying to attacking our students and instilling fear into our students. And I would say, from conversations within the community, especially the Hispanic community, we are a Hispanic serving institution with an emphasis on service, and we need to reach out to these populations of people. We need to reach out to people that just lost their jobs, or their jobs have been changed to, or impacted by AI, by trade wars and so forth, and get them to upskill, reskill, and be a part of our community's college. So that, and we need to invest in our institution in order to do that, and to do that properly. I ask for us to continue to look for ways to pivot and to look for opportunities to serve the students and not cut their budgets.
Any other questions or comment? Kevin.
Two things. Did I hear you correctly? You accused the administration of attacking students?
The Trump administration.
Okay, thank you.
I thought that for a second too, actually. It clicked though.
The hour is late.
I get it.
Secondly, just the board is responsible for approving the budget and allocating finite resources in the best ways possible that we believe to enhance and uphold quality, comprehensive, accessible, inclusive learning opportunities for our students. So yeah, they're not easy decisions by any stretch. And I appreciate your efforts to look at some ways to tweak it here and there.
Thank you.
Julie.
I'll just say again, the budget is the budget we are required by law to pass. It has to be something that we can work with. If we exceed our expectations, which, oh my God, I hope that we can do outreach efforts, that we increase more enrollment, that we can, and as people lose their jobs, that they come and try to do this. And when we get to that point, yay, we come in and we're doing a supplemental budget and we recover anything. But right now, we have to be flexible in this incredibly uncertain time to be able to say, we're not going to just cut this program right now. The administration does not know where these cuts are going to come from yet. They have to do research. They've got to look at everything and they'll be letting us know when that comes up, but we got to be flexible. So I support the budget the way that it is. I wish it was different. I wish we had, all the numbers that we think we have. And, but damn, this is actually not as bad as it might be. And at the moment, I'm praying that it changes. But like Kevin said, it's a difficult discussion. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments or questions, discussion? Okay, I'll simply say thank you to everyone to my fellow board members, to the president, to the leadership team, to all of the faculty and staff and all of our students for participating in this process. Recognizing that we have a legal responsibility to approve a budget by the end of June, and knowing that under Board Policy 30, any major changes to programs need to be brought back before the board. I'm comfortable letting this move forward at this time, and we'll be voting in the affirmative. And thank you to everyone. See if we can have a roll call vote, please.
Kevin Alltucker,
Yes.
Denise Diamond,
Yes.
Austin Fulnagi,
No.
Steve Mattel,
Yes.
Zach Mulholland,
Yes.
Julie Weisman.
Yes.
For the record, for my no vote.
Yeah.
I voted no because the students asked me to.
With that, I'd like to request that we take a break until 9.
I just want to make a comment for the record.
Yes, please.
Okay, I appreciate the efforts, and I think an important takeaway, I guess I could say, which we did exercise in a previous situation, is that looking at options so that we really feel that we have thoroughly, as much as possible, looked at the various options and quote unquote pivots that might be possible, thinking out of the box, thinking creatively. That's a win-win for all of us. We all are on the same page trying to make the institution and those it serves the best, possible place. And we're all striving for that. And I think, when we can put our creative thinking into it, we all benefit. So I appreciate the conversation, and I appreciate your efforts, Austin, for options. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. So I recognize we have 2 more resolutions, and then we'll take a quick break and figure out how much more we can get through tonight. So with that, the next action item tonight is a motion to approve resolution number 707 regarding the imposing and categorizing of taxes for FY26. Do I have a motion on this action item?
I'll move to approve resolution number 707, imposing categorizing taxes for FY26 as presented in the board docs.
I second.
Okay. Would you like to speak to your motion?
I think it's already just approved. It's even part of the other resolution.
Is
So
there any discussion?
Well, this is a question I always ask. They haven't changed from last year. The rates of the tax rates, fantastic.
We're not allowed to change them by our Oregon Constitution.
Which is why I always ask, just to make sure.
Clarification I'm going to give, the permanent tax rate does not change,
Yep.
but what does change is what our bond payment does change. So that
Yep.
fluctuates based on the payment.
10-4. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead and do this with all in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, please say nay. And that passes unanimously. The final action item tonight is a motion to approve resolution number 708 regarding the president's annual authorizations. Do I have a motion on this action item?
I'll just continue. I move to approve resolution number 708, President's Annual Authorizations as submitted in board docs.
And I'll second.
Okay, and would you like to speak to your motion?
I think I'd let the president speak to the motion.
Yes, I'm going to have Kara speak to the president's annual authorizations. They are common.
Yes, this is a yearly allocation for next year. These are our pretty basic, mostly fixed costs for what we spend in contracts. That is over 250,000 year to year, and just requesting approval. There's specific questions. This includes things from our bond payments to what we pay for employee insurance to what we pay for liability. So if you have questions specifically, happy to answer.
Seeing no additional questions or comments, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And all opposed, please say nay. And the motion passes unanimously. We will take a 10-minute break.
Oh, corrective action.
Finish these act. We just have one
Oh,
more.
do we have one more?
Yeah, corrective
Oh,
action.
I'm sorry. I didn't catch that. Where am I here? Okay. It is not in my little thing.
It's from the audit. There's a corrective action.
So the final action item tonight is the corrective action plan. President Bolger, would you like to introduce this item?
Yes, I do. I have informed the board about what this corrective action plan is. It's related to our audit, and I will have Kara speak to this, but you can see our auditors actually coming online on Zoom here, and that's Hillary Tenenberg. But oh, yes, you're in person. Good, great. I've never seen you in person. I was wondering who you were. You look familiar. So our auditing firm, Moss Adams, is here, and they can explain this corrective action plan along with Kara. Kara, you can go first, please.
And what I wonder from the board, not to put you out of order, but this is a corrective action in response to our audit. So I'm not sure if you want to listen to the auditor's presentation and then take action on this, which I know messes up your agenda, or if you'd like me to explain this and then have them give their presentation.
No.
I saw Steve and then I saw Austin.
Just having read the documents ahead of time, it seemed fairly straightforward. It's hard to imagine that we would object. It seems reasonable to move forward with the action and then have the audit.
Sure. Okay, I can speak to this. We have two findings in our audit.
Oh,
Do you want me to hold?
Sorry. Austin, do you want to speak now?
Well, it's fiduciary responsibility to get a presentation on audits and to the board, for the board to review and to see, and at least be able to ask a question of the audit, rather than just looking at a corrective action.
That's
of that audit.
coming up next.
That will.
Oh, that is coming. Oh, wait.
It's 30 minutes dedicated.
I apologize.
Flip in the order.
Got. Oh, I see. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yes, they will give you a presentation, but there are two corrective action items. Anytime you have anything larger than a significant deficiency, the state of Oregon requires you to have a board-approved corrective action plan. This is first findings, new audit firm. They did a very thorough, great job, great to work with. You'll hear from them next. So we do have some specific items. There was two that they will discuss. The first one had to do with financial statements and internal controls. The second had to do with student reporting relating to student financial aid. We do have a detailed corrective action and a timeline in there, which is what's required. I can go through more detail. Would you like to ask questions? There's a lot of details in there.
Kevin.
I get the second one. That was pretty clear, but I'm not as clear on the first one. So I would be interested in hearing just, some kind of layman type language to describe this deficiency.
Yeah, so that the auditors are saying that we have internal controls that we were deficient on. And with that, they actually had a list of about 14 things that we could work on. So what we did is we went back and took that list and made corrective action steps for each of those individual items. And one of the first fundamental things is we need to have internal controls, written policies. We need to have people properly trained. We need to make sure we're booking things timely. We're on an efficient schedule. Long story short, and part of the delay in the audit is the delay in the financial statement preparation and all of that. So we are taking these corrective actions in response to a lot of those recommendations.
Thank you. I move to approve the corrective action plan as written.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any other further questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. Question for my fellow board members. What are the highest priority items that we get to and for maybe the president and her staff? What are the highest priority items that we get to tonight, and what might be delayed for our work session in 2 weeks?
It could be timely for the audit presentation, but
Agree with the audit presentation and board retreat discussion.
Okay, so we can move the campus climate results to our next board meeting potentially.
reluctantly, but we will be happy to do that.
Okay. All right.
Already here.
So,
Take a 10-minute break to get some water. And
Yeah, so
we could be here a little longer.
yeah, okay. So when we come back from the break, we will do discussion items B and D, and we will remove item C to our next meeting and ask for our reports to be succinct, very succinct. Okay, we will be back at 9:15. Hey, everybody. Okay, we're back to finish up our discussion items for the evening. We are going to be doing discussion items B and D. I'd like us to actually do part D first. I think that's going to be very quick. President Bolger, could you please introduce the board retreat discussion?
Yes, I'd be happy to. I believe that there is an agenda for the board retreat, a draft agenda. You might recall that we've had a conversation about the board's retreat. It's July 19th, and I've received some additional input from board members, and that's what you see here. Couple of reasons for bringing this here. One is to recommend that we find a facilitator pretty quickly. I've got two who are interested. They are both ACCT recommended facilitators. There were a couple of suggestions. One was for taking a look at trends affecting higher education and bringing back Scott Van Pelt, who was the co-author of The Great Upheaval, as some of us will remember. And so I have contacted Scott Van Pelt, and he is interested in that. As a matter of fact, you said the timing is great because there's a second edition of The Great Upheaval. I don't know if the title will be the same, but there's certainly another edition that they're working on, and the book is going to be released in about 6 months, roughly. So he is prepared to come back. And the other request was for a federal policy update, or an update on the federal landscape. We've contacted ACCT about that, and they could certainly have someone Zoom in to have a conversation with the board about that. They can also do a briefing, and that would be possible as well. And I will stop there.
Okay. First, any questions, comments, discussion? I've got Austin and then Kevin.
Absolutely. Two things. One, if I see facilities to TBA, or to be announced rather, I would just want to suggest either the Longhouse, and if the Longhouse is not available, the iTech conference room. That was a wonderful facility. It's and those who haven't gone, this great location. So those would just be two possible locations. This second thing, with federal issues and federal topics, OCCA is doing federal issues call on a regular basis. And Karen Smith would actually is really knowledgeable, especially around the legal aspects of the federal issues that are being faced in higher education. And I found those presentations to be very informative, and she could probably do a decent summary of that through OCCA. So just a thought.
Kevin?
So are you volunteering, Karen?
I will shoot her a text and ask, please.
Okay. Thanks for putting the draft agenda together. What I like about it is that it's a little more forward facing or leaning or whatever the perspective is. It's looking ahead. And if Scott Van Pelt can be there, that would be really fantastic. And so I would look forward to that.
Steve?
Yeah, the proposed agenda looks fine to me. The location suggested by Austin, either is fine with me. I just wanted to empower our president to pick a facilitator. You know them better than me. I trust your judgment. I hope others can support that.
Yeah, I would say just send that to Kevin. I will approve your recommendation, most likely, I would assume. Julie?
I concur with the selection. I would also prefer that the federal, although I appreciate you volunteering, your OCCA gal, I would like it to come from our federal associations who are like in the thick of it all the time and may have a more current report from us. So if they're available to give us a briefing or something like that, I'd really like that. I like the agenda. It feels really tight. So I'm hoping that the facilitator will have some flexibility with this agenda to be able to maneuver it around, because as a facilitator on things like this, it's difficult to work on someone else's agenda when maybe one of the processes that I have might take longer. So I hope there's some flexibility. I like the suggestion for the locations that Austin mentioned. My only concern is having been in the Longhouse at the last retreat, It didn't have air conditioning. It was extremely hot. And the system, this TV and all that didn't work. We couldn't hear Austin. He was on Zoom. We couldn't even hear him. And so, and it was the sound and we had to have, I mean, it was, so I want to, if we're going to have it there, which I totally am fine with, could we make sure that the technology can support us in being there? And so that it's comfortable for an all-day retreat.
The retreat will be held in the new iTech building,
Oh,
one of the
okay.
conference rooms.
Oh,
okay.
Thank you for the suggestion too. I think Celia was thinking alike.
Mm.
You were thinking both alike. Well, thank you for that. And I will recommend one of the two facilitators. You're absolutely right. These are topic areas and the facilitator would have license to actually put together an agenda for the board. Scott Van Pelt is actually holding the date. He may actually Zoom in, but I think we'll get the spirit of Scott. He's really a great guy. Certainly, if we can afford him, maybe he's hearing me. I don't know. It's probably about midnight where he is, but if we can afford him, then I'll try to get him here.
So just to wrap things up here, it sounds like there's support for the agenda as proposed. It sounds like there's also interest in a federal update, which, if I'm correct, is not currently in the agenda. So we'll need to find a time then or in another meeting to get that update.
yeah, I guess we could have it in another meeting.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be at the retreat.
And then it sounds like we've got a room available in the iTech building. I've also had it suggested we think about going out into nature. So I don't know if that's actually possible, but I'll put that out there as a potential option.
Lunch.
And then I look forward to seeing the recommendation for a facilitator, and we'll get that approved and finalized, and look forward to having a really great retreat next month. With that, we will move on to our audit report as our final major discussion item of the evening. Yeah.
Thank you.
President Bulger, do you want to introduce this item?
Thank you for that. And we will introduce again Moss Adams, Scott, to come to the podium and we will get started.
All right. Thank you all for having us here today. On the screen, you'll see my colleague Hillary Tannenberg. Hillary works with me on a lot of the different higher education jobs I work on. She lives in Yakima. So she wasn't able to make the meeting here today, but she spent a lot of hours working on this engagement. I want to start by saying that many years ago, I was a Lane Community College graduate. Many years ago. I was trying to think of it while I was sitting here listening to all these wonderful people. I think it was 1994 that I got my associate's degree here. So I have a lot of positive feelings for Lane and everything that it has to offer. We are here, I'm here tonight to talk about the June 30, 2024 audit. Gosh, it's a long time since June 30, 2024 closed. The audit took much longer than I think any of us wanted or expected, but I'll comment on that in a little bit. And I'm sure Kara's not going to be liking to hear this, but we're getting ready to start the 2025 audit already. So we'll add a one and right into the next one. Okay, so with our audit, we issue 4 reports. So quite a few reports. The first report is an opinion on the financial statements. And that report says that those financial statements are fairly presented in all material respects. And what we issue is we call it an unmodified opinion, meaning we didn't have to modify it for any reasons. Second report that we issue is a report on compliance. So this is on your federal programs, your student financial aid, TRIO, other programs. We also issued an unmodified opinion on compliance as a whole. Now, we did have a finding in compliance, and that was on that student financial aid. It was in your packet. It was something that you guys have already received and seen. I will say that that finding is one that I see, the most common one that I see across all higher education. Enrollment reporting is difficult to get right every single year. So a lot of times I'll see schools have no findings for 10 years, and all of a sudden they get tripped up on enrollment reporting. They fix it, they move on, and again, they're good for a long time. Community colleges have two areas that are very difficult to really stay on top of. Enrollment reporting is one of them. The other is return of Title IV. And that is the students who receive student financial aid, then leave. And you don't hear that they leave, they just disappear. That happens at community colleges. There's certain timelines you have to meet as far as doing calculations on how much did the college earn of that student financial aid and how much has to be returned to the federal government. You guys did not have a finding on that this year. And I will say that is a common one in community colleges. So good news there. The one that we had on enrollment reporting, my comment to Kara and the team, just put policies and procedures in place to fix it, and it's no big deal. The Department of Education will start to get worried and nervous if they see that finding 2 and really 3 years in a row. So it's back to back to back is when really schools start feeling the heat on that. So that's the compliance report. The third report we issue is a report in accordance with government auditing standards. We have to follow government auditing standards because we did a compliance audit of that audit of federal funds. That government auditing standards report is over internal control over financial reporting. And this is where we had that internal control significant deficiency that we reported. We're here in 1st of June talking about the audit. It's been, it's taken a long time. There were a few things that we found along the way that we said, gosh, you really should be putting procedures in place, controls in place. We've had good discussions with management this whole entire time. But at the end of the day, we felt like, gosh, we really need to right a deficiency there and kind of elevate it to something in writing. That being said, I feel like we've already seen some progress in areas of the management team kind of fixing some of those things, just tightening their belt. And this is going to get, I would say part of this gets to a point that the board member Altucker made a little while ago, talking about the president and hiring, real professional people. The addition of Kara and the addition of the controller, Megan, we saw a change throughout the audit. Once Megan came in and Kara had someone to collaborate with, aside from the third party that you guys used to help out with the financial statements, things changed and in a really positive way. So I was pleased at the team that's being built, and it feels good to see that, really things are, being addressed. So wanted to comment on that. The fourth report, the final report we issue, is a report in accordance with Oregon minimum standards and Oregon budget law. Okay. And we look at a whole slew of different things with that, how the budgets are adopted. If there are changes to the budgets, the procurement, there's a whole set of rules that we have to look at. If we find any exceptions, we call those out in that report. And we did have one exception that we called out, and there was an over expenditure in a budget line item, which is why it's so important to make sure that you get those budget line items not only right, but if there are changes to the budget, that those changes follow the proper procedure. It was a pretty minor thing in the grand scheme of things, but it was something that we called out in that report. So those are the 4 reports that we issued. I also have what we call required communications to those charged with governance. And I'm going to go through these pretty quickly. And I will tell you that we do have a document that will be emailed out to all of you. I just talked to Kara about this later on tonight or tomorrow, whenever they get around to it. Probably not tonight, tomorrow. That'll relay in writing all these things that I'm going to go through verbally with you. Okay. The first, changes in your adopted accounting policies and procedures. If there are changes, we identify those and call those out in our written communications or this communications to you. Because you need to know, is the college changing their policy from one year to the next to get a different, maybe more positive financial outcome? That's why it's so important to look at were there changes from year to year. And what I can tell you is there were not changes. There was one new accounting policy adopted. It was related to one of the Government Accounting Standards Board's policies. It was new this year. It was adopted. It did not have any impact on your financial statements, but your core policies, your accounting policies did not change. Accounting estimates. Now, there are accounting estimates in these financial statements. Not every number we can confirm with a third party. So things like depreciation, that's an accounting estimate. Your OPEB and PERS obligations are accounting estimates. We look at the methodology you use to account for those estimates, and was it consistently applied? Once again, we don't want management to change the methodology from year to year to get a different financial outcome. And I can tell you that all policies were consistently applied from one year to the next, and they were appropriate. Third, there are some really significant disclosures, footnotes in those financial statements. They're worthwhile reading. They can be very tedious, but they are important. So there's one on capital assets that is really important. There's one on your pension and OPEB liabilities and your long-term debt. All those are really important to read through and understand. Now, a lot of you know this, but I'm going to reiterate it on debt. One of the things that's different with you versus, I'll say, some other public universities, colleges or universities, is you have pension bonds. So if you've issued bonds years ago to address that pension obligation, not every college has done that. And so those ones that don't, they have a pretty massive pension obligation on the liability side. You've kind of traded that out for debt. So you're funding it now rather than later. So it still shows up as debt, but it is something that's different. So it makes it, I'll just say, a cautionary note when you compare yourself with other community colleges. You need to understand, do they have things like pension debt on their books or not? Because it can make the comparison a little bit unique. If we had any disagreements with management, we would need to let you know. We did not. If we uncovered any fraud, we would need to let you know. We did not. If management consulted with other CPAs, maybe they didn't like our answer on something, they said, we want a different opinion. They're allowed to do that, but then we need to know so that we can make sure that other CPA has the same information, and we would need to let you know. Once again, that did not occur. There was nothing else that occurred during the audit that we would need to modify our report for. So if something happened even post June 30th that maybe was significant, we felt like, gosh, this really could have an impact on the reader of the financials. We need to talk to you about it, and that may need to be disclosed. Nothing like that occurred. As we do the audit, we're looking at your numbers pretty in depth. And sometimes we will come across, I'll say, suggestions on, hey, is this really recorded in the right period? Or did you miss recording something? And at times, those, I'll say, suggestions, those proposed adjustments need to be made. Sometimes they don't, because they're pretty immaterial in nature. We did have 2 proposed adjustments that were not made that we agree with, that really were, I would say the decision not to make them was totally fine. One related to the prior audit, where there was a payment that was recorded and it shouldn't have been. And so it switched, essentially, it was recorded in the prior year, it should have been recorded in the current year. What that means is you have kind of a difference between the 2 years, but at the end of this year, it all works out to the same number. There's no there's no adjustment at the end of June 30, 2024. The other one related to, there is a new accounting standards that says you have to record, or you should be recording, technology subscription-based agreements. So if you have a 5-year agreement with a technology company to get services, you essentially should record that as a liability and an asset. The college does have one of those agreements. They didn't record it. The net effect is almost zero because you record a liability and you record an asset, and they essentially offset. Sometimes the time and energy that goes into tracking that and recording that can be significant. And so I have seen a lot of schools say, you know what, if the amounts are just pretty small, we're going to pass on that. And we agreed with that. So that's what that related to. Finally, I'll just say, with regard to timing, I had many discussions with Kara along the way on how do we get this wrapped up? How do we get this wrapped up as soon as possible? And one of the things I told her each and every time is, let's get it right at the cost of fast. And I'm here to say, I feel like we did the audit and we got it right. And we built a foundation that'll let us go much faster in the future. So while not optimal to be here this late, I feel like we really laid that foundation where we're going to fix that this next year. So with that, happy to answer any questions.
Got Austin first in the queue.
Excellent. First off, thank you so much. Greatly appreciate it. Yes, we were all tired, and I apologize if I start slurring my words. Yeah, I remember us passing the PERS obligation and so forth. And by the way, like what was that, 3 years ago, Steve, or something like that? Yeah. I think we should have a board presentation on that and kind of seeing how that's going and stuff like that. And I understand that that's counted towards debt and so forth. And it kind of frustrates me with audits and the audits that I've seen from here to Klamath Community College is like the evaluation of assets, like the fact that we have 300 acres, we have land over in Florence and so forth. And I don't necessarily see that evaluated effectively as an asset, especially with like real market value of the land, the assets and stuff like that. And is there a way to document properly to real market value to allow that to be a greater asset? Because if something like a PERS bond obligation, which is to a certain degree a positive thing, counts as debt, why can't we have a higher valuation of our assets?
Yeah, so good question. And the short answer is it is not allowed. For you,
yeah.
I've seen some pretty strange things in my career.
Yeah.
Where you have, I work with a lot of universities down in the LA area. They sell you look at their financials and they don't have a lot of assets, and they sell a piece of land for $85 million.
Yeah.
And it's 3 acres in downtown LA, and boom. I had a client that was up in Seattle.
Yeah.
Did the same thing. Struggling, sold a piece of land. And it was almost $100 million transaction.
Yeah.
You can't put those at market value.
Yeah.
With I'll just say one minor
It's buildings, right?
exception. Well, buildings, it's all historic cost.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
It's all
Okay.
historic cost. If you have a piece of land that you say we want to sell, then it changes from classification as a historical asset to a fair market value asset.
Gotcha.
If you have it listed for sale.
Got it. All right.
So that's the one exception, but that really doesn't apply to many colleges and universities just because you're not in the business of selling land. You're actually in the business of to some degree acquiring as much as you can so you can expand campus and so on and so forth. But
absolutely.
Good question.
Yeah. No, thank you. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Steve next.
Yep. Also, thank you. Appreciate it. I don't have questions. I don't think. It's mostly some comments, unsolicited, really, context for other board members who haven't been here that long, unsolicited. I'll keep it brief. But I think there's just value in saying that up until last year, we had a different auditor. And those audits, while useful to a point, they did not take this extra step, which I think is very valuable, of evaluating our practices and giving us feedback on where there's opportunity for improvement. And there were folks on the board as well as on the staff who, pointed that out last year and said, we need to move down a different path because we don't know what we don't know and we need help to find it. So not only did President Bolger bring in Kara and team, but also made the decision to shift to a new auditor. So I look at the fact that we found some deficiencies as a good thing because they were there, they were hidden from us, and if not for Moss Adams, they might remain so. And I'm also really what I look for in these situations. I've had similar interactions from a previous board that I worked on. Is the response from our responsible parties. If they're defensive in nature, it's a bad sign. And ours were anything but that. They were agreed right away. Yep, that's a good thing. Thanks for finding it. And here's our path forward to make it better. So I appreciate all the way around. I think we're in a better position than where we were a year ago. And it's thanks again to the leadership by the president and the cooperative nature between Moss Adams and our financial team. Thank you.
Julie.
I just wanted to say thank you too. Great presentation. You holding all that in your head was pretty amazing. And I wanted to know if your colleague Hillary had anything that she wanted to contribute since she's been hanging out with us all night.
I mean, I always have opinions and thoughts, but no, sorry I couldn't be there with you all tonight. But no, just look forward to meeting you all in person down the road and just excited to continue this relationship with Lane Community College.
Awesome.
And then my other question is when will the audit begin?
Oh, God.
Well,
29.
we would give her a couple weeks to breathe. And then we'll probably be in touch late June talking about dates.
Yeah, mine
That's
starts in
just how it's
September,
going.
so I hear you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Seeing no further discussion, thank you very, very much. I really appreciate it. I got some of the data I've been looking for in terms of, total assets, net liabilities is something I've been asking for all year. So it's been really nice to see that data and really appreciate all the amazing work. And thank you very much.
Sounds good.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice night.
With that, we will be moving on to our updates. If folks could be succinct.
Yeah, so we'll start with Dr. Tinkham and then move to Shane Turner and wrap up with Dr. Joyce. And please be brief. Thanks.
I will be very succinct. I trust that you've read my report. I also, there were additional questions that were asked about the LPN program. I got that out to you late. So I hope that you're able to review that, and I hope that can clear up the rationale for the college and clear up any.
Where is that? Sorry.
I believe that was sent out late. Celia, did I get that out this afternoon?
If not, that's something that we can certainly share with the board.
We'll
Thank
go
you,
ahead.
Dr.
I
Tinkham.
can share that with you, but that you'll be, if you have not received it, you will receive it. There's only one thing I do want to talk about this evening, and I just, I want to steal a line from President Bolger when she said leadership is about others. In my report, I briefly mentioned that the college has finalized an updated dual enrollment agreement with the University of Oregon. We have been working on this, Colin and I and our team we've been working on this for the last 2 years, and we got it past the finish line. But this is a dual enrollment agreement that is on par with what LBCC has with Oregon State University. It's a long time honored, celebrated dual admission agreement. And we have something very, very similar. And we have to thank our colleagues at LBCC and also Oregon State University that sat down with us and our partner from the University of Oregon and sat us down and told us how to do it. So we have something very similar. We're absolutely excited. We've got some folks in the room tonight, I won't name them all, that helped get that through. And I also want to give a shout out to Ron Bromhoff, the Associate Vice President for Academic Affairs at University of Oregon, that's been spearheading this initiative at the University of Oregon.
Nice.
If I could ask a follow-up question.
Sure.
So this means that students enrolled, can you say the benefits of that program?
Absolutely. So what this does, it's as you know, transfer is very tricky in Oregon. And we've got lots of state initiatives that's trying to make that more seamless. What this does is the University of Oregon is our primary transfer partner. And it allows students who we know are interested in transferring to the University of Oregon to dual enroll. We already have an agreement, but this is an enhanced one. And what it does is it removes the threat of duplicated credit or credits that don't transfer for a purpose. And it creates a more just intentional relationship between the two institutions. And then students are getting immediate advising from the University of Oregon and developing faculty relationships, if they so choose, to do it earlier than when they would get a credential through LCC. It also allows us the opportunity to auto-award degrees for our students. Many times students enroll, they transfer early. We don't know what happens to them. We don't have a mechanism by which we can auto-award that degree. We now can, because we will have an enhanced data share agreement with the University of Oregon, and that is going to help us with funding. As you know, we have a new funding model that has some early momentum metrics built in. For example, we get awarded for, students taking a set number of credits. If that student transfers early, we can't capture that. Now we can through this agreement. So we are absolutely delighted that this has moved forward, and now we start the difficult part. Now we got to start working on it. So
Incredibly exciting. Thank you for that.
It really is exciting. And we are working on a formal signing in the fall, but we wanted to start now to get our systems organized. And so that's why we're not having anything formal in terms of signing, but we certainly plan to be a part of that.
Kevin.
Yeah, real quick. That's fantastic. And forgive me, board and audience, but I'm going to ask a question. Is there value in now looking in maybe a similar relationship with particularly our STEM students with Oregon State University?
absolutely, we'll get working on it.
I know somebody on that board.
Really? Okay. But yeah.
If it was down to, it's, one of the groups also, this really helps is, we have a great relationship with University of Oregon with international programs on both sides. We also even recruit together out of country in different places around the world. The tables will be next to each other. We talk about the benefits of being a Lane Community College and transferring. And now this really will be helpful with that population too.
Good evening. Just briefly, I wanted to mention three things. Last month, we hosted our annual employee recognition celebration for our years of service and our retirees. We had two board members with us there, Chair Mulholland and Board Member Fulnagi. It was a wonderful time, lots of fun, and great to celebrate our employees. Our managers are getting to work on planning our annual classified recognition or celebration event this summer. And Don Whiting, a member of that group, is here with us tonight. But we host that every summer to celebrate and acknowledge our classified employees. So looking forward to that. And then finally, Heidi Morales, who is a member of the staff in the HR department, was awarded the Classified Shining Star Award this week as the classified employee of the term. And we're very excited that she won that award, very deserving. So those are my reports tonight.
Great, thank you.
Awesome. Do we have a date for the barbecue?
We don't have a date, but we'll publish that.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Right. Just a few things. I'm going to be cognizant of the time and everybody's energy right now. I wanted to mention one thing we did new this term. We have an enrollment work group that gets together and focuses on how we can improve the retention and success of students. And this spring, this was headed by Bliss Newton, who worked closely with me just across the corridor here, and the enrollment work group. And they had a goal of trying to get, what we find is if students leave for spring term for summer and they're gone, and the likelihood of them registering dips when they leave campus. You want to get them to register while they're still here. So there was a big enrollment campaign to try and get students to register with gift bags and all kinds of things, and to try and get them to register for the whole year. And the goal was to have 20% more students continuing on in fall, and they reached 12%. They actually got 12% of students to register the next fall through that campaign alone. I want to mention the job fair we recently had. Kathleen Campbell in Financial Aid ran it with a great kind of cross-campus collaborative team. And we had 51 employers on campus, and we had hundreds of students attending it. And I wanted to mention as well, we had a fantastic trade expo that was run by Chris Wren and Academic Affairs. Really highlighted the new buildings and technology we have. And we had students from all over Lane County attending that, I think about over 400. And admissions and our teams were involved in that too, with tours. And so a lot of things there. And then we put on a tour for GED students to come into our credit program. So we're actively trying to get these adult students to sign up for credit, like create more of a pathway. And so bringing them on, most of them are downtown. So we're trying to bring them onto the main campus and expose them to all the things we have going on here. We had an international programs night with lots of our international staff, even singing, dance, traditional exercise, fantastic event. And that always is well attended. And then I will just mention as well, on maybe a bit of a, step forward. We have a grant that we received that we have, again, it's kind of a cross-campus team working on it. And this is focused on the students we have that are parents of children, and trying to make a more friendly campus for them, a welcoming campus. And so this spring, this part of this grant, we put $10,000 to kitify the spaces on campus, making them more welcoming and accessible to students with children. That included Stephanie Wicks, our grant writer, we're from our student life. And so we're really trying to focus on that, like making the campus welcome for adults. I think I'm going to leave it at that. I've got loads more, but it's in my board report.
Thank you.
Thank you all for those reports.
That was well done in the short period of time for our late night. So thank you for that.
Any other questions, comments?
Just that.
Okay, so then we're going to move to closing items. So now we're on board member questions and comments generally. Anything that anyone would like to add? Austin.
Yeah, I mean, I have several questions actually about the LNP program. Yeah, so anyway, I would love for that to be brought to the board for further discussion and so forth. And a quick question. The staff there being transferred over to the RN program, is that correct?
I can follow up with,
okay.
we'll follow up with.
I would appreciate
And I'll
that.
touch base with President Bolger.
Excellent. Perfect. Thank you so much. Yeah, I would love some further discussion about that. One other, so actually a couple other things. So 4J now has a new superintendent, Miriam Mickelson. I hope I'm saying that correctly. One of the things I would love to have collaboration discussion with, Portland Community College in Beaverton School District did an admissions agreement essentially, so that essentially their graduates automatically can become admitted into a program. They get a PCC student account, so on and so forth. And with this new superintendent, there's opportunities for trying new things and doing different things. And I'd love to see if we can have conversations with the 4J about admissions, a PAC or agreement rather, to essentially do the what PCC is doing with the pilot program in Beaverton. So yeah.
Suggestion. I appreciate the suggestion. I do intend to reach out to the new superintendent when she gets a little bit more settled. But I do intend to reach out to her, invite her over to campus, and show her around a bit. I have heard of what PCC is doing, and so I appreciate the suggestion.
Absolutely. Another thing I would love for our institution to also look into is potential partnerships with the Eugene Public Library. Eugene Public Library recently allowed for all 4J students to be able to get a library card from even if they're with outside of the Eugene Public Library district. Having sort of a similar thing for Lane Community College students, I took a tour of the library and the resources available, especially academic resources available. Granted, we have our library here, but it's as many resources as possible, especially with the attacks against Trio and various other resources. We need to think of creative ways to essentially fill the gaps for some of those resources. That is and so regardless of where they live in the county, being able to have access to the Eugene Public Library and their services, resources, and education services might be a net benefit for not only our students, but potentially even our staff as well. So those are just a couple things I would love for us to explore as we go into this next school year.
Thanks. Okay. I'll state I also am interested in learning more about the LPN program. Was thinking about potentially asking for a work session to learn more, but I look forward to seeing the responses to those questions that I submitted, and just I may draft something and send that to the board if it seems like we need a more in-depth dive as a board to look at that. And with that, seeing no other questions, comments, discussion, we are adjourned. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Future meeting dates. Please note our next meeting is June 18th. Too late.
Yep. All right. It's up.